Well, hello, everybody. And here you all are. And here I am, which makes me early or late. I'm not entirely sure. According to the brilliant information I have, was we start in half an hour, and I have no idea why I am flashing. I'm no longer flashing. That's a good thing. Um, the virtual background is breaking down, just like. Anyway, stop it. One thing I want to start with doing is I want to read you all when my camera is done flashing. For some reason, I don't know why it's doing that. And I'll bring you guys on in just a minute. I just want to figure out why this thing is doing this. I may have to change my virtual background. Guess what? I know some of you might think that I'm sitting in the Oval Office. I'm actually not. We'll try that. That doesn't work. Much better either. Hang on. I believe I have sunshine getting in my way here. Maybe that's it. I'm sitting in a beam of sun. Very strange. And now you understand why I have a problem getting the website up and running, because I can't even figure out how to make this damn thing work. No, you know what? We're going to go with a different one, because since it doesn't matter, we're going to go back to the White House. And since I'm not working, I have to do that. All proper. Bloody hell. Anyway, I assume you can. I know, why is this doing that? This is extremely frustrating. Let me see if this helps if I move it over here. Oh, bloody hell. Okay, I'm just going to be that guy and sit here and bicker about all the technical issues I have. We're going to try to go with. Are we done flashing now? Are we? No, we're not. All right, I'm going to switch camera to the other camera, see if that helps, see if that's even possible. If everything breaks down, we'll start a different stream if this does not work. Well, that worked better. All right, so we switched cameras. We have learned something today. No, we have not. I'm still flashing. Am I flashing on your end as well? Or is it just because I have a glitch on my end? Anybody? On that, I see my camera. It's not flashing on your end. All right, I just have a glitch on my end that makes the screen flash, and that is just really annoying. Yes. So, all right, I will ignore it by just not looking at myself. That makes life easier. My whole computer seems to be wanting to break down here today. What I want to do, since we're here to talk about history, and we're here to talk about some of the issues that has been. We're going to talk mostly about history. I want to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen on the channel, what I got for you over the next 3-4 months. And we have some really interesting stuff that I have filmed. And we have some GPR images of some of the Riese Foundation places. And Riese Foundation places. Oh, you know what I mean. And first of all, I will have a month of V-weapon sites, of the special V-weapon sites coming up. I've visited all of them, of the heavy crossbow sites from where Germany launched the V1s and V2s towards Germany, and also of the long gun that was under control of General Kamna. So that's going to be 1 month of special weapon sites and who ran them and so on and so forth. That will be coming. I have some really, really interesting stuff from Riese and some GPR of something that is underground. In November, we will have a special with Joseph P. Farrell and with Michael out from England, Shrimpton, talking about the Kennedy assassination and 9/11. Yeah, we're passing World War II, but we're starting in World War II. And someone mentioned Nazi UFOs, and I just have to ask. So those two gentlemen, and hopefully maybe if Oliver Stone will dare get back to me and join us on that, we're going to have him on as well. What else we got? Then we have a whole month on the West Wall, a whole month on bunkers and forts that most of them have been destroyed. So having had to go to those places and piece them together to show you that you got to think about the Germans over the past decade since the war have destroyed over 20,000 bunkers on the West Wall facing France. And everybody discarded the West Wall as it wasn't anything. There was not much of interest. It was not well built. It was not well fortified. There are still bunkers there today, and the Germans destroyed 20,000. Now, you tell me how many fortified lines or bunker lines have 20,000 to begin with. So there's a lot more to that. And I went through a lot of it with historians out there. A lot of the Kamlas locations. We have gone through Quats, which is the biggest tunnel system that still is existing, although it's not possible to get into it. So how we magically did it, we can't tell you because then someone's going to mess it up. But we went through for several hours. We crawled through every tunnel of Quats, which is near Bergkristall, one of Kamlas and Fiebinger's places. Huge tunnel system. So we have the most updated the footage from there, which I will look forward to showing you because it's going to be amazing. And I have heard back from the wonderful Austrians. They will sit down and meet with me when I get out there. It's easy for them to say, oh, just come by and we'll talk about it. And all the questions we have on Bergkristall and all the questions I pose to them and I post in my videos it has resulted in a lot of email back and forths with very little back. Except come by, talk to us. Oh, we'll talk to you about it in person. It's much better than writing it down. Which, okay. So now, whenever I get back out to Austria, I will sit down in a format with them, and I will invite Woody. I will have a few other Austrians for translation if that's needed of documents. I have coffee with Fiebinger's son at some point, not related to that particular meeting. But we want to know what they have, what they found, what are they not showing us, how much cement did they use to store this stuff up in Bergkristall and so on and so forth. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to read anything into it as feeling of the stalling or anything like that. I'm not going to do anything like that. It is what it is, and we will we'll go out. I'll meet with them and see what they actually have to say, which I'm looking very much forward to. See if they're, and I'm going to bring Austrian politician as well, who have opened up that can of worms of why can't we see these places. Holy, this is really annoying me. All I see is flashing stuff here. So anyway, as soon as I can afford it, I'll go out there again, and we'll talk to the Austrians, see what documents they actually want to show us, see if they actually want to take us through Kellerbau and Bergkristall. And I know there's an author out there that wrote a book about the my microphone muted itself. Wow, we were just having we blame the Russians. Wrote a book about Quats, but apparently he may not have ever been there. So we're going to have, Tom, I just saw you there. I'm just trying to remember what I want to tell you before. Where are you? Yes, the official, yes, Tom, obviously Tom will come, and we'll see what they actually have to say to us. It'll be most entertaining, I am sure. And I will see. There's also for those of you who are on my Patreon, you will know why I have put some of the special videos from Jonastal and the S3 on there alone, why they're not out in public. Aha. And can we vote on a different backdrop? You can vote on any backdrop you want. You can all gather votes, and then you send me a different one if you like. I mean, you can't do any worse. And yeah, the world would be a much different place if I was president. Not necessarily for the better, but there would be puppies and pastries for everyone. And I have written and I have gotten all of your various suggestions for labs to test some of the soils from the nuclear test site. And I have gotten exactly one response from one of them saying we can't do that. Every one of the suggestions you written, I wrote every one of these labs, if they can test the soil, none of them responded. I'm not reading anything into it except they have something better to do or they don't want to entertain an idiot like me. I don't know. I'm just I'm a little surprised. So I'm still looking for a lab to test the soil. And by the time we found one, Alex may have a lab out in Berlin. So I may have to bring it back, in which case we may just actually take some more samples. There'll also be a month of Hitler's headquarters. And if you think the one in Poland was large, you haven't seen the one outside of Paris, which is huge. And we crawled through that, got a tour, and went through that one. And that's amazing. That is an amazing place. You haven't seen Hitler's headquarters until you've seen that. Still waiting back from the Ukrainians to see if I can get my press credentials from them validated so I can go out there because I'm an idiot. Channel update. We're just jumping in here. And Mars would be a good backdrop. Maybe I am in Mars. That's maybe why I am using a backdrop here. Yes. And anyway, also I'm hoping to do the USS Texas, which is in dry dock. Yay! Finally, if any of you don't know, it amazing dreadnought finally being cared for and restored the way it should. Yay! Going to go out there and talk to them, and there's going to be some civil war reports we're going to do, and whatever happens with the whole YouTube revenue situation, which I will now talk to you a little bit about because it's important, which is also why I started My Road, Two Guys and Food Bikes shows channel to run parallel with Lost Battlefields, because Lost Battlefields should only be about history, and all the bike and food and silly stuff that I have done or will do will move over onto My Road. And we need to get some 10,000 followers on there real right quick so we can get that monetized as well, because then there'll be a backup YouTube channel to monetize, and you will all understand why. So that's why I keep saying, please plug and watch the My Road, the parallel YouTube channel, because we got to get some people on there, and so we can separate things, and also a safeguard against safeguards. Because I will tell you, speaking of YouTube, and let's have a little talk about YouTube. I have just finished writing. I'm still writing a letter to Ms. Wojcinacki, the CEO of YouTube, and I've written her before, because what they did in January was they changed the way they promote, suggest videos. They changed the way they calculate revenue, apparently. And as you've seen on my griping posts lately, that there was a vertical drop on January 1, which is when the new policy was implemented. And it's not just me. It is, I reached out, I just talked to History Hunter. I reached out to some of the other guys. All of the history providers, content providers have dropped and can't be found, not being promoted, not being recommended. And for all of this year, I have seen the revenue just drop by 85%. It went down almost down to 10%, went all the way down to $400 a month at one point. And the revenue is what paid the bills and the travels out to Europe to film all these places. That's not going to happen on $400 a month. So we have to do something. And first of all, I've been appealing to YouTube. Most of the minions you write when you write customer support either deny it, say, oh, make something else, your fans not interested, and all the nonsense. They probably don't even know what changes has been made by the platform on a higher level. That's why I'm writing the CEO, and I'm not expecting a response. But I did ask her to come on, do a live chat, and talk about how history views, how YouTube views history. And I will actually read you the letter I've sent to her because it's open. I'm going to post that as well, both to LinkedIn and to all the other platforms, which is what I am now wasting my time doing, setting up other platforms. I have, what did I have? I set up a Rumble account. I have everything is backed up, is doubled up on Rumble. Rumble is difficult because you can't really categorize things. It's harder to promote. I hope they get their stuff together. It is on there. All the YouTube stuff will go on Rumble. And there's the Patreon. But what I am primarily doing is, as you may have noticed on the Lost Battlefields website, there's now a members only section that has not probably been set up yet because Lord knows I can't find anybody to actually do it. I work in Weebly. I should probably learn WordPress. Weebly can do what I want it to do. I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how to set up the payment platform. What I want to do is make this a $1 a month membership and a password to members only, where we can have all the videos we don't want to share, all our private stuff, movies, private chats. You guys can go back and forth. There'll be forums. And I need a web designer to set all that up behind the membership only. I have also reached out to some of the other creators, History Hunter and all the other guys, and asked if they want to contribute. Because the goal with having Lost Battlefields being its own membership platform, and I don't want to charge more than $1 a month. If people, they want to do more, then more. That's fine. If we have 100,000, 100,000+, 120, 30,000 people following here, who most of them can't find me. If I go on YouTube and I search for Last Nazi Secret or something, I can't even find my own videos. So it's now all of a sudden it's really hard to get people to come, where we would have a website. And I see videos promoted that were posted until January from last year. They come up in searches. The new stuff, nowhere to be found. It's more luck than ever. So that's a nightmare. Now I have to get to these 120, 30,000 people and tell them when I get the website done, which should be done in a week or two. Then if imagine this, we get 100,000 people to sign up for Lost Battlefields for $1 a month. I don't need that much money to go travel. But now we can actually do what we always wanted to do. We can travel around to see all these places and actually financially help them. $1 a month for 100,000 people. Imagine all the good we could do to all these forts and all these volunteers. Plus, it would keep me on the road permanently and also helping out. We could even start helping some of the wounded veterans and some of you guys who can't travel or have bad legs or things to go on the tours. Then we could actually do some things. But we have to reach these 100,000 people. And we have to see, like, no notifications. A lot of you guys don't get notifications. Back in the day, when I would post a video, especially Last Nazi Secret video, a week in, we would have 100,000 views. Now we have 4,000 or 5,000. There's 100 guys of you chatting now. We used to be 400 or 500. at least, maybe 1,000, maybe more. And when I have some like Michael on or Joseph on, and we don't have enough, we have a couple hundred people watching. That's just sad because there should be so many more people coming and joining us here. But if they're not told, so the nonprofit is, well, it's established, but I need to pay the couple of $1,000 handling fee, which again I thought I was going to be able to do because YouTube started this. This year has just been atrocious. I went through all my savings doing the travels because there's just no money coming from YouTube. And actually, Patreon is doing better for us. And thank God for the guys of you who are on Patreon, who are all sitting on the camera waiting. And I'll bring you all on. And the surprise guest that should be visiting, I don't know if he's here yet, Roger said he might join us. But if you would like to, I would like to read you the letter I have sent to YouTube. And then you can tell me how wrong I am or how I should reword it. And I have written her before. And so what I wrote, and I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce her last name, so we're just going to call her Dear Susan, because I don't want to start off pronouncing that wrong. What I wrote to YouTube. I would very much like to connect with you on a matter in regards to us historian, documentary filmmakers, and our historical presentations on the YouTube platform. After having investigated the matter further and gathered similar findings from most of my colleagues in the historical content world, I feel I had to write you directly again, as more seems at stake here than just a few accounts. Again, I would like you to consider the possibilities of supporting this series historians who were until January 1st able to make a living making presentations exclusively on YouTube. Materials presented in schools, academies, and teachings around the world, yet are now in danger of leaving the platform. It is clear that given the new direction YouTube have taken as of January 1st, traffic is effectively being directed away from history and historians. Our documentaries are no longer promoted. Our revenue has dropped, in my case, by 85%, literally overnight. And the same for my colleagues and their channels. Myself, I have, and still in good standing, but now struggling, given this change, no longer possible to have me travel around the world and film historical locations and produce content exclusively for YouTube as in previous years. I have returned to other platforms, Amazon, and working on my old network deals, as many of my colleagues have. Our videos are simply no longer found. They are not recommended, even when monetized. The revenue have been cut by a third. As it happened overnight, so it's not a result of YouTube policy. So it is a result of YouTube's policies and changes. I cannot even find my own series when searching for their name. So my fans cannot find me. Notifications are no longer working in many instances, and I have consulted with all the various other historians on this platform, and all have found the same to be the case for them. Thus, it is clear that this platform's decision, and it is destroying our collective ability to continue to produce series content exclusively for YouTube. This is a direction I hope you will reconsider, given the very importance of history and the learnings from historical events that are so important. The very discourse and explanation of historical events are paramount for any society to learn and flourish. And international platforms such as YouTube can and should play a key part of this. And as you have until January. We documentarians are now facing the prospect of having to leave and start our own platform or platforms, which would decrease the reach of important learnings and all valuable entertainment. And I dare say it would diminish the YouTube platform's quality. Again, I hope you'll consider returning to previous support possibilities as used to exist for historians here on YouTube, and perhaps entertaining the idea of creating a separate category for history on the platform. And that is pretty much what I am writing and have and will write, the lady in charge. So we will then see what will come of that. Anyway, that is pretty much the update, and I see a bunch of people here. I don't know, let's bring you guys in and say hi. There you go. There you go. Remember, we can only do Ed William, your device is not connected. Hey everybody.
Hey. Hey there.
Somebody's running a TV in the background. Kill it. Thank you. All right. Well, good morning, afternoon-ish. So anyway, yes, I know it's a long letter, but I don't really read it. But I'm gonna plaster it on. I also joined. I started pulling a bit more on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I have written Curiosity Stream and a couple of others about content. I will start uploading to Amazon. Some of the series are going to be cleaned up and going on there. Uh, we'll see what happens. We're also working on hey, Rachel. We're also working on to deal with hopefully with History Channel on a food show, which has nothing to do with this, except the way I look at it. Since one way or another, no matter what I earn, I'm spending it on making documentaries because history is the love of this. So whatever I do that's successful in any other venue will end up benefiting Lost Battlefields. But Lost Battlefields will have a members only section coming up soon. As soon as I find the proper technical muppet to set it up, the platform and the membership password. I have the membership platform right now is set up with a password that I don't know what is, which means I can't actually log into it unless I log into the tools. Yes. So there. But good. Yeah, I really appreciate the more of you that signed up for my road, because it just if we can get that up to monetized, I can put fluffy stuff on there, which will, well, it all goes into the same bucket. Food shows doesn't cost me anything. Traveling around the world to some of these places does. So we shall see what we'll see. But I
Do we
know.
need to start sending you recipes?
All right, I'll cheat a little bit. So the concept of the food show we're doing is basically we're going to try to make alternative ways of making food, try running around the country doing weird stuff. Go to the farmer, get the meat fresh, go find a vegetable that we want to cook it with. Maybe I'll fry a steak on the pipes of my Harley. Maybe we'll find an Indian recipe. So, well, here's a piece of meat. How would you do it as Cherokee Indian? Or try to explore the food from start to finish and do it in
Well,
a
you
couple
can
of.
do a roast beef on a manifold cover. I've done that before.
Yep, that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, I'm definitely going to use some foil because I'm not sure how else I'm going to get meat off my own tailpipe. But yeah, I mean, stupid, crazy things that Gordon Ramsay would never think of. That's sort of what we're going to do. And since we're going to go to the Southern forts and the Civil War forts to film those anyway, local strange kitchens, restaurants, places that people wouldn't find mainstream, and follow their story and hear what they how they make food or how they came about. That's kind of what we want to do. Something interesting, and maybe follow a recipe back to its origin. We're still hammering it out, but they want food, not cars and bikes, and I want bikes and cars to take us to the food, and then we'll sort of meet on the middle, maybe. And so yeah, and Great Forts is going to have some new footage and go up on Amazon, and hopefully that'll wake some people up a little bit. But virally, will all that stuff that now all that time that now gets spent on. Oh hell, I even signed up for Truth Social. I figure, well, at least there might be people interested in history there. So and interesting enough, they will actually let me post full YouTube links. And I think now I have to play a harder part in sharing the YouTube links to different history groups, since they're not being promoted by YouTube. The revenue on them sort of still the same. I know you guys said TikTok. Machine, are you coming on here, or are you just going to sit there and eat, Mr. Karaoke? I don't know. Are you here?
Try using Utreon.
Utreon, I looked at it, and Utreon has a problem. Is you get 3 months for free, and after that you're paying $600, $700, $800 a month, which is pretty much usually that's just not really. I mean, to pay 800 to start paying for a site that should hopefully make you revenue to keep working. It's just too much. They're asking too much money. And
right, okay,
yeah, I mean, I looked at them and I kept thinking, well, why don't I go there? And then I looked and then I kept going up to I think they want $695 a month. And I'm like, no, that's kind of what I'm making. I might as well just stay on YouTube then.
So how much? I mean, not being a broadcaster or anything, how much do Patreon charge you?
What are they doing? 15% or something? They just take a percentage, so there's no charge. Of course, I have to.
You get charged 30% for all of your super stickers and everything for
YouTube. Yeah, I know.
So we should encourage people to do it as a PayPal donation.
I mean, yeah, I hate the whole thing of taking anything from anybody, which has just always rubbed me the wrong way. But we got to keep doing this somehow. But that's why I was thinking. I mean, the ideal thing is I get Lost Battlefields up to the membership site, and then because then we can also have conversations that are just amongst the members, and we don't have to worry about offending anybody or being PC correct. And I don't have the specific impression that any of you guys are particularly PC correct or will take offense at anything. I mean, I'll
set up a Discord.
Yes.
As well.
Discord is on the list of things.
That doesn't cost anything. Once you've got it set up, you can get 2 or 3 of us to run it for you.
Crystal suggested a Discord for a while.
Because that way
my Discord is always open and on.
Yeah.
But the thing with Discord is you can put each subcategory in. So if you've got somebody who's got information about World War I forts, they can put information about that in there.
Yeah.
World War II forts, they can put them in there.
Yeah.
Everything. You've got chat things, because one of the problems that I think we all have is being able to chat together other than on live streams like this.
Or through emails.
And come up with ideas. Because it's hi Roger.
Yeah, Roger's here. Hey Roger.
Hi Roger.
Hello, and Atos the cat.
Hello, kitty.
He's keeping me warm.
Yeah, but you can't afford fuel or heating oil out there in Europe now, can you? You need the cats.
I changed over to a heat pump powered by electricity. Just about a month before they tripled the price of electricity. So I'm burning wood at the moment to keep warm. And I'm keeping. I mean, 1 cat is good. 2 cats. It's like the old Eskimo joke, a 3-dog night. 1 dog on each side and the 3rd dog on top. So I've got a 3-cat night in bed.
My cat would do the same thing, Merlin. But he'd get on top of my head, roll himself up in a ball, and purr.
And I'll say any number
Yeah,
of
that
cats
happens sometimes
over.
as well.
Oh, that's all right. Any number of cats over one or two starts making you a little strange. Um, I have found people with multiple cats in high numbers. What do I got to do? Hey, you heard finally, Mr. Karaoke. Um, just to finish with Paul, what you're saying, you're absolutely right, and can take a Discord and I can put that in on the members only as a link, so we could actually have that all going on. And if I
Yeah,
can,
and then that way you can post in Discord. You're putting out this on this date,
yeah,
and give people lots of notice and stuff like that.
exactly.
We
Mailing
can get
list is also going to come up.
together with Brandon and sort out merch,
Yeah,
because the merch he's produced, it's like as one-offs for his use, showing like mugs with the Lost Battlefields sign on it is brilliant, and
yes,
people will buy them.
I agree.
Um,
The one important question
and
we have.
you'll make money on it.
Oh my God.
That's the
Here's
whole object of the exercise.
the dumbest thing is I never wanted to make money on it. I just wanted to run. But like if we can actually, like I said, if we can have the same amount of members over time for $1 a month, we could actually help some of these guys out there. That would be the object of things. We could actually maybe get Roger a winter jacket.
Yeah, but if you're selling, if you're also selling merch and stuff like that, then
You're right.
you have more money coming in, which means that you have a greater
Yes.
possibilities for what you can do, where you can go, how long you can spend researching somewhere,
Yeah.
rather
Absolutely.
than just saying, well, I've only got a week here. You
Yeah.
can say, well, I can spend a month here. I can spend a month in the German archives,
We
and
can.
go through,
Yeah.
what's what. If you've got the money coming in,
Yeah.
and there's enough people who are interested.
See, that's the thing. There are enough people interested, and that's why it's so frustrating when you see that they can no longer find what we're doing. Because that shouldn't be. You've seen some of the conversations I had with some of these technical support people when I sent them graphs and talking.
It's World War II, Nazis, stuff like that.
Yes.
They don't like all that sort of thing. I mean, sort of, if you look at Drakenithil and
Yeah.
Dr. Alex Clark, both naval historians, both covering World War II and World War One and everywhere else, but they're looking purely at the ships and the
Yeah.
battles and the people in it. They're not talking about whether this particular admiral was a out and out Nazi or whatever.
Yeah.
That doesn't come into it. And I mean, Alex should be a lecturer at a university full time.
Yes.
But he can only get a year at a time job,
Yeah.
which laid him off for 3 months.
Exactly. I agree.
So he relies on the money that he gets from YouTube, and particularly from Patreon, in order to be able to afford to do what he's doing and be
Yeah.
able to concentrate on doing the books he wants to write and stuff like that. and he uses
Got to
sword
the
and
books,
pen. I don't know if you've tried them for the book that you're trying to do.
Who?
Sword and pen.
I believe I wrote. I believe I wrote them, but I didn't hear any. I wrote a lot of them, and I didn't hear anything back from them for some reason, which is why I'm still sitting on two books. I'm just okay. It is also we do. I don't know if anybody have noticed, but we do seem to have a bit of an economic problem and downturn in the world today, regardless if they like to talk about it or not. Which, for instance, like
Oh, yeah.
we had the war film that came out 3 months ago, and my distributor put out for sale. It's been, and all World War II films always sell well because timeless, it's easy to sell, it is what it is, it's not nothing to do with current politics. People who watch movies like war movies. It's been the worst sales month of any film because the markets are just terrible. Books are the same thing. All the entities are just sitting and waiting to find out what's going to happen, and that's what I was sort of, and I'm not holding out on you per se. But I was sort of hoping that I was for a minute trying to believe that what they were telling me at YouTube, oh, well, it's a seasonal thing. Because I remember October, November, December are usually the really big attentive months on YouTube where people really come. So I'm going to all right, we'll take all the good stuff people really need to see about the research and hold for then, but it doesn't seem to make any difference. And also there's another thing that they have started doing. They have implemented a new guidelines for violence and all that. So you remember, you all saw the fort from Czechoslovakia, which the restored fort from Czechoslovakia, where I did the 10-minute introduction talking about the Sudetenland and the Austrian uprising. They demonetized it because it was too violent, and there was police arrests and violence and dead people, and there's it's all black and white footage, nothing graphic. They have lowered that to the point where we can't even show black and white footage of war without that being a problem. They demonetized my 3-minute tribute to 9/11 as being offensive. Now, you're not all American, but seriously,
That ticked me off.
that pissed me off too.
It would piss anybody off because I mean it's
Yeah.
you're in a situation now where YouTube are only interested in
Fluff.
stuff that's in the moment, celebrity,
Stuff
news,
that kids could do to get their butts in trouble.
yeah, news that lasts for 24 hours and is forgotten about. They're not interested in anything more important than that, and that's why history channels are suffering.
Yeah.
And then
They're not
you've
even
got
looking for history.
well, it's not that. It's because the way their algorithm works is that if it has certain words in it, then that's a no-no. So if it has the word gun in it, then that means you can't do this.
Yeah.
And that's why you get all the people all the gun enthusiasts who are on YouTube are moving to other channels.
Yeah.
Because they're getting no money.
I mean, I think it was a radio show who told me like I should start writing Last Nazi Secret out for the episode instead of LNS, Last Night LNS. And I'm like, I specifically did that to not use the word Nazi because every time I do, I have to go through 4 or 5 days of vetting. It gets approved because, all right, they can see it's an episode. But it's ridiculous. And even if it's just terrifying that we are. I think I remember hearing Schwab sitting in his castle in Switzerland talking about how we need to what was he said in 2014? We have to dumb them down, keep them on drugs, and have them entertained on video games, which is sort of what you're seeing. You're seeing a complete diminishment in education, historical learning, everything that's being taken away or rewritten. it's just not interesting because you can learn from history. And you see all these documentaries that I do, Drakinifeld does, World War One and Two channel does. They're teaching from these in schools, and if they can't be found, there's just learning that's going lost, and that is the worst thing. Is we're leaving a whole the generation we're having that's growing up now. I mean, they have pretty much everything going against them, and the only little hope is to have a bunch of old timers like us show them a little bit of a common sense and a little bit of history. But they have to be. We have to find a commercial way to reach them, which is the hard part. We have to, like TikTok, we have to do the 1 minute blurb on TikTok. Oh, there's a great fort. You have to go to this channel to see it, because otherwise they won't know if we don't introduce the fact that we hear in their way. We have to speak their language, and that's the thing that is starting to get to me. At one point, will take so much time every day blurbing on all these little platforms, making extra little episodes and 1 minutes to get to all these guys, to get them into our world and to see what we do. And I think that's what we need to work together on. Well, Roger, you teach young people. Oh, go ahead, Ed.
Well, yeah, I take about 50 kids around battlefields. When I say kids, they're 14 or 15 years old normally. And they're let out from the schools after the confinement, the COVID confinement. They do tend to run about a bit wild. They want to dash through the forest, etc. I say, no, it's full of unexploded shells. But they are fascinated when I stop them and I get them to listen. And I explain what happened around here during World War One. They're absolutely spellbound. I mean, it's very hard work for me because it's like when you're a comedian and you're on the stage I'm on the stage for 7 hours, and that's very tiring. And the day after, I want to tend to stay in bed all day to sleep it off. But it's very worthwhile. It's fantastic to see these young people. They come up to me with questions. They don't know basic things. They don't know the difference between a bomb and a shell. I mean, we've lost so much. Everything is, what should we say, sanitized now. They have no idea of what's happening in the Ukraine or why, because they don't know anything that happened in their own country, in their own history. Very sad in a way.
But I
do my little bit to educate.
I mean, every child has an inherent curiosity, even if it's being beaten to death in the way that learning is being presented, that everyone, any 10, 12-year-old will love to crawl around a tank, a fort, stuff.
Yep.
It's just in our nature, and we need to put that to them because they'll want to be part of it. They'll want to see it if they can find it. Ed, you were saying, I cut you off.
I was just going to say, could you imagine a documentary on American history following the woke doctrine?
Okay, you would have 8 hours of total silence and black screen.
I mean, I was, we're paddling down the getting demonetized road. Well, the thing is, I don't have to say it, what I'm thinking, because you all know what I'm thinking. And you're wondering how this is. My lieutenant colonel buddy, he always said whenever they have a new initiative in the military of all this nonsense that they're pushing down over us, he always went back with a retort and said, how will this make us win wars better? And I could say, if you look at teaching and schools and education and history, all these weird initiatives that started ever since 2012, 14, and really coming into their own of craziness now, how does that make a generation better? How does that make a student a better person, a better at a job, at a work, a more functional human being? And the answer is all the way around that it's not. And an understanding of real history and an intellectual curiosity is being bred out of the new generations. And I think that's, but I think if we get to them, they will still have, boys and girls will have an interest in this stuff. That's why we go to these places instead of sitting doing this, and we crawl all over these fascinating places because here's a big thing with rivets and huge shell coming out of. Everyone will be interested if they see it. We just have to help them find it.
Well, it's like I was reading something earlier today. I can't remember what website it was on or anything, but they were talking about, well, von Braun shouldn't have ought have been brought to the states to get the NASA going and everything else. And then I started thinking, well, if we wouldn't have gotten von Braun, the Russians would have. Although the Russians did take Germans.
Well, you know,
But
I will.
I mean, if we didn't have von Braun, we never would have went to space. We wouldn't have a crap load of medical discoveries.
You know, I'll use an analogy here that I heard when when speaking of a recent defector from the Democrat Party, and I heard a very interesting story. If you have two equal sides that are at war, and one is losing and one is winning, if you go to the losing side and offer them war criminals, if you go to the winning side and offer them crazed war criminals to help them win, they'll say, no, why should we? We're already winning. If you go to the losing side, as I will say, the America could have been construed as have been behind the curve at the end of the war, after the World War II, especially when it comes to the space race and jets and rockets, you offer them a war criminal to them win the war, which is now the future Cold War. If you're losing and you're down, you'll take any help you can get. Realistically, and at some point in time, we'll take the morals out of it. We need these guys because they're better than the alternative, which is now the communists. And I think that it's a realistic assessment that yes, all these guys should come over here and teach us what they knew. Because, like you said, otherwise they'll go to the Russians for one. But Chinese. Well, that's what they were. That's where they're going today. But even worse was, what if they all stayed back in Germany and started rebuilding it there? I mean, wouldn't that be better to get them over here and like, all right, at least here we can keep an eye on them, or they can keep an eye on us.
Could you imagine what von Braun is thinking right now? We've gone from the shuttle back to the light this candle.
Actually, he's probably rolling in his grave.
Laughing or
Why
crying.
did they stop crying?
I
I
mean,
really do.
I'm pretty sure that Stalin and Marx are rolling in their grave laughing. And I can't help but Roger, how bad is it in Europe now? I mean, are we going to have riots in the streets because people can't buy gas or fuel to heat their house or home? Do we need to start sending you food packages?
Or dramatic tanks.
Yeah, that would help. Yeah, some good McDonald's cheeseburgers, they'd be very welcome. No, well, Europe has always been, what should we say, a violent place for the last 2,000 years. There have been wars and squabbles, endless battles between a baron in one castle attacking his neighbor in the next castle, etc., or invading a little country down the road because he wants to take over a tiny slice of territory. 2,000 years of that. That's what I tell my kids when we're in the ossuary and we're looking at the remains, the shattered remains of 130,000 young soldiers literally blown to pieces by shells, 60 million shells during the Battle of Verdun. And they stare at me and they think, my God. I say, yeah, it's still going on. We never learn the lessons. I take them around the back of the ossuary and I show them that through the armored glass windows, the remains of these young men, their skulls and their bones shattered that were collected all over the battlefield here. It's a unique collection in probably the whole world, the ossuary we've got here. And I said, they left the windows so you could look in as a lesson to not make the same stupid mistakes. We keep on making the same stupid mistakes. Yeah. It's terrible.
It was like the pictures I remember seeing.
And we're still making them in Europe, aren't we? I mean, you know, you've got the situation. Ukraine. Before that, you had the Balkans.
Mm,
You know, they talk about, you know,
yeah.
80 years of peace. There hasn't been a single year since the end of the Second World War when there hasn't been a war somewhere in the world.
True.
Because we're
Says,
only human.
Yeah. Yeah.
says a lot about humanity, doesn't it?
I mean, I will take the
Well, as I
upbeat
say to my
possibility.
students, yeah, uh, sorry,
I'll
the
say,
human race is a dangerous place. That's what I tell my students. Yeah.
and that's why we want to go to
I
Mars.
am.
It'll never
But see,
change.
See, that's exactly it. We cannot argue human nature. And what has
Not
now
unless
happened
we
is,
drug them all.
well, we are. So, I mean, there's that. And now that if we start denying and arguing that, what will come of that is something really, really bad that will inevitably lead to a change. And you can only fight and denounce human nature to such an extent, but it is what it is. And
Hey, machine.
you can't tell a gazelle that all of a sudden he's a lion. It's not going to work. And the difference is, and I think I'm traditionally not going to be the upbeat optimist because I'm just basically just treading out my time waiting to die, with no hopes for the future whatsoever. However, there is a possibility that in the extreme events that have now occurred over the past 2-3 years, I can see it has gone so wrong in the agenda that's been put forth, in the willful trying to re-educate people and young people into something that they're clearly not, that it cannot continue. And now that you got to do policies where, and I'm sorry, it's just not Putin's fault that we have gas prices that are $7 a gallon in the States. It's not, and it's silly to believe that. Europe, it's all everything that's gone wrong is because of policy decisions that are just bad. And sooner or later, when the only thing that have kept people from taking to the streets is because they're still just a little too comfortable still. They could still eat, they could still sort of have heat, and they're still too comfortable to take to the street and start actually letting the people who in charge of the country know that this is not going to fly anymore. This winter, and I hate to be the predictor of this, but it has to be.
What's happening here is that the government is giving people money to offset the cost of their gas and electric.
It's counterfeit.
And they're doing it. They're doing it in other European countries.
That just drives up inflation.
You know, when they had all that shutdown stuff and
that's
everybody
right.
got the checks.
And then when you've got the situation where they've already spent trillions of pounds or dollars worldwide on COVID, and this is all just a catch up of COVID.
Yeah.
The fact that we did fuck all for 2 years.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't.
Some of us Americans, we're doing all this COVID mess, and everybody's getting all this money, $1,200, $1,300, $1,600. Well, I guess I'm one of the few Americans. I never saw any of those checks.
Most of the ones that did didn't even want them because they knew it was going to happen later on, and we're living it right now, the inflation.
Well, my daughter and her husband, they got smart. They paid off bills.
I mean, but the problem is now we're looking at, and I'm looking at Europe a little bit to lead on this, because no matter how much money they keep being given, sooner or later they will run out of money. It will, like we said, drive up inflation. And if you can't buy anything for the money, which is now we're looking at, Roger, I know you have a whole bunch of firewood sitting out back in the barn, so you should be okay for the winter. But there's a lot of people in Austria. A meter of wood used to be 100, 125 euros. 600 euros. You're not going to get 600 euros for that to heat your house. A lot of people can't afford it, or they don't have a heat. They don't have a heater. We're looking at maybe the next 6 months where it'll be cold. People in Britain might actually freeze to death. People might starve to death because they can't get baby formula food. Things will now get to the point where people are no longer comfortable, and they will start protesting because they've been backed into where they just can't. Like was it the friend Macron that said the time of excess is now over, and we always thought that the reason for a civilized society and for the world who's always evolved, we get better, we get more knowledge, we get more creative. We don't, and now that's what people have come to expect. So to see a sudden decline that now you can't get on the shelf what you had yesterday may wake people
get
up.
more greedy.
Yeah.
I remember up north during the 70s, and we had the OPEC embargo. People were raising hell about having to wait in line 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to get only like $20 of gas.
Yep.
Okay.
Which is now 2 gallons.
What are these millennials going to do when that happens?
That's it. Yeah. And back in
they're over here, everybody buy that electric car, get that electric car. Do you know what they're having problems in Florida with right now?
Burning electric cars?
No, the Teslas that were flooded in Tampa Bay, they're catching on fire and burning.
I mean,
it's
a way to keep warm.
Are having serious problems getting those cars put out.
Yeah.
Well, before I buy an electric car, I'll go get a horse.
Well, let's say you own one right now. Let's say you own a Tesla, and the battery bank goes bad. I hope you got $20,000 because that's what it costs to put a battery bank in one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cheaper to go and buy a used car. But like I said, I'll never buy an electric. I'll keep my truck.
I've got my gas.
I will go buy a horse.
Sorry, no diesel, Tino. I'm still running gas.
I mean, right now horse feed is cheap.
But we're again looking at.
When I was a kid in the 70s in Britain, they had power cuts 4 hours at a time on rotation in order to, supposedly keep the production of electricity.
Rolling blackouts.
Rolling blackouts, what we call it here.
The fact like California.
But the point was,
nobody likes California. Tino, get out, get out, get out.
Yes, dear.
They all the electricity power generation in Britain at the time was coal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And you had all the coal from the South Wales valleys. You had the coal from up here in North Wales. You had the coal from in Yorkshire and everything like that. Drax, the biggest electrical producing coal-fired generator in the world, was there because it was a central line for all these trains coming in from everywhere, and they could have quite easily produced all this electricity.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that it wasn't
correct
in to the benefit of the people with the money.
Well, it's like where I lived, we did not have gas lines. Although, I lived in Texas. But now, because they have shut so much drilling down in East Texas, where I'm from, people are looking for work. People have lost their companies because of it.
I mean, you look at the situation the world is in now. If we 10 years ago, when Merkel and Blair turned down building all those new nuclear power plants, if they had done, Europe wouldn't have the electricity crisis. And everyone's whining that OPEC is going to stop drilling for more oil, and by 2,000 barrels. We were oil independent 2 years ago. Start drilling. This is not a hard situation to get out of, but it takes a little bit of planning. And again, the situation we're in now is man-made. It could also be fixed. but you cannot impose an agenda that goes against fixing it. So we have to go back to the common sense of life. And now you had, when the power goes out and the food lines get shorter, it gets longer, and you can't buy what you used to buy, all these wonderful liberal-minded, and remind you that the world has changed its meaning over the past 20 years significantly, to the point where I don't think most people who consider themselves liberals understand who they used to be. However, now in all these big cities, when everything goes out and stops working, this had been in the Great Depression in the 1929s, as we talked about before. Back then, everybody had a skill because they came from a world where you learned things. You could grow, you could rivet, you could weld, you could sew stuff. You could make things. People could come together as a community and still make it work because they had skills. We have taken those skills away from everybody who lives in cities, and thank God for a few farmers we have out there. But that's the problem we're looking at now, is we have this past young generation who's basically technically useless. And that will compound the problem to what might be coming. At least we're a bunch of old timers. We can still do stuff.
Well, see,
Right.
that's what I've been doing with my grandchildren. I've taught both my granddaughters how to sew, how to crochet. I'm trying to learn how to knit. But there a lot of things, like my daughter's trying to find canning recipes.
Canning. Oh, hey, not a bad idea.
To start canning food.
I did a lot of canning this year.
And I wish I knew how to do it too. But I mean, I can sit there and cut a damn cow apart. That's easy. Just get me a good, nice, sharp knife, and I can dismember a cow.
Well, I got to dismember a squirrel, but that's all I got here.
I told you what to do. Get a 10-gauge shotgun.
Not for a squirrel. Then there won't be any squirrel left.
Okay, then
Get
a
No,
22.
not much.
I'm in LA. I have poisonous fish, squirrels, and rats.
And that's just.
But if anyone has a red
I'm in
squirrel,
Alabama. I'm in Alabama. I got snails.
I need a red. No. Oh yeah. I need a red squirrel. Help. Because my great aunt had a fur coat made of red squirrel, and there are a few holes in it. And I need a red squirrel to repair the holes. And it's not politically correct anymore to go out and shoot red squirrels to repair holes in fur coats. But I still
they shoot down here because people eat squirrels.
If I see any red squirrel roadkill when I'm out and about, I will pick one up for you.
Yeah, we'll box it up and ship it to you.
I can go out
that's very
to Fort Benning
kind.
right now
I
and get
really
you an
need it.
armadillo.
And
I'll taste
I'll
one next
skin it
time it
for
eats
you.
my patio furniture. Yes, no, they very much frown on things with firearms in the patio and the marina. But I will tase a squirrel next time I see it eating my patio furniture, and I'll skin it and send it to you. But I used to like squirrels, but after they started eating,
I don't eat. No,
That's
I don't
why I
eat
have in-town
squirrel.
rounds.
That's a rodent.
I mean, you can eat
Little bitty
squirrel. I
things
saw
around.
Gary Busey ate a roadkill squirrel on a TV show once. His son was very proud.
You can eat an armadillo too, but I'm not jumping for that.
Hey, that's awesome. That means we can make our helmets too.
Yep. We could use their shells.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we get soup and we get to wear a helmet. This is awesome. I'm on board.
I mean, they barbecue them down in Houston.
Squirrels are better for you than rabbits.
I can't eat rabbits. They're too fluffy.
If you just ate rabbits, then you would die.
Well, during certain months, rabbits have worms in them.
Well, irrespective of the worms and everything, if you were only living in an area where there were rabbits, no other animals, then you would not survive. You would die.
Yeah, you get about what is it? I was actually telling somebody else about that too, where the meat is good. I mean, it is good for you, but it's very, very, very lean.
Yeah,
Very,
it's
it
got
doesn't
no
have
it's got no nutrients or anything like that in it.
right.
That's
It's
why
basically a
if
foam.
I can get some venison grind and I go to make chili or spaghetti, half venison, other half is ground beef to give
Is
that.
cats an option?
I've got a
No.
recipe for,
Oh no! Stop!
I've got a
No,
recipe
no, no,
for
no! I
rabbit.
draw the line there.
Yeah,
Now I know how long
my,
the delay is.
my cat is literally my emotional support animal. I will not eat my
Pigeon is
cat.
very
My
good.
dog, on the
My
other
cats
hand, I
bring
will put a
pigeons
spigot
back to
right up
me.
his butt and roast him.
Then you
Now,
can eat the
my
pigeons.
cat,
Oh
Merlin,
yes.
I didn't, when he died,
Ah, yeah.
I didn't bury
Mm.
him. I
Yeah,
had him cremated and he sits next to me in a box.
Okay, I was afraid you were going to say you actually ate him.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I was
I
worried you were saying the same
We
thing.
all stopped. Like, wait, what?
Let's put it this way: when
But if you
I
get
had
rid
to
of
have him
cats,
put
then we'll
down,
be overrun with run.
I had to have him put down
Oh.
after 10 years. He had problems with his liver. You can ask my husband when he died, I went into hysterics. I had that cat from the day he was born. Like 4
Yeah.
inches long, and it killed me.
Oh, I get it. We had
They say a
we had
cat,
two of them that had to go.
if you cook it right, it tastes. They say a cat cooked right has taste of a little bit like.
We always call it Chinese rabbit.
No, I'll eat rattlesnake before I eat a cat.
What about seagulls? Is that an option? Because I mean, there's lots of them.
They're
And they're big.
salty.
Oh, but look what they eat. They eat rubbish. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, they do.
What seagulls eat.
Turtles.
They're always
But
on
some
rubbish tips.
people eat those.
Where I'm from in Texas, we have a buttload of pigeons. We use them for footballs,
Ah, that's good. Pigeon's good.
literally.
What
Yeah,
was somebody
what do they
just
call it?
posted
Swamp?
that? Go on.
I need some mud bugs and calamari soon.
Calamari. All right. I mean,
I
we have
love
all this
calamari.
military knowledge of what soldiers have eaten throughout all the sieges of. I mean, in France, towards the end of the siege of Paris during the Franco-Prussian War in 1871, they started eating the animals of the Sioux, and the elephants and the giraffes
Yeah.
and everything was eaten by the rich. And I think every soldier at some point in time had figured out how to eat something that once had a pulse.
During the Civil War in the United States, when Vicksburg was encircled, they ate cats, dogs, horses, rats. If they could get down to the river, they would pull fish out. But other than that, or they starved.
Yeah, the problem is now most people who are under the age of about 40 probably wouldn't know how to do that anyway.
A horse?
They wouldn't have the skills to actually hunt for themselves.
Correct.
Sure.
And
they
how
don't
to
even know
how to dress stuff.
Go past hunting and even go with just farm animals. I had one, tell me that, well, of course, they were vegan, so meat is murder or whatever. But they looked at me and they're like, well, would you, how do you do this yourself? I was like, yep. I was like, I take the chicken's head off, and I do it myself. And well, they're like, well, did you how do you do that? How do you name, animals and eat them? I was like, well, I got a cow named Porter. You want to meet him? And like, what?
Oh, it's like my
Porter,
granny.
I'm going to eat him.
My granny. Okay, now Granny was old school. She would go out in the yard and grab a chicken by its head and just sling it around her head and jerk it, and she'd break its neck.
Yep.
I did it totally
She'd
different.
sit there and pluck him, gut him, everything, go in fry him. And I was watching her do this, and I was like 3-4 years old, but I remember it.
I kind of did the Last Samurai type thing. I grabbed it by its feet, laid it down, and there goes the head.
Yep. Hey, I'm no problem eating animals as long as they have a nice life and a quick death. I mean,
Exactly.
I think that's what we pretty much want for all of us.
And as long as I put a fork in it, it don't go move.
Oh, hey, no. Wait a minute. Where are you at again? You're not in Texas, are you?
No.
Okay, because that would be travesty in Texas. See, there's only one way to eat a steak, and that's to clip its horns, wipe its ass, and run it through the fire.
Oh no, 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 no. With this crap, with this E. coli, no, 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 no.
Oh no, every once in a while I just look at it, and if I poke it and it still ripples a little bit, it's like, okay, I'll put it on there for a couple more seconds. But it's still got to be that that nice pink juicy center.
No, no, no. It has that pink juicy center. I go throw it back on the grill.
Yeah, but if I wanted beef jerky, I'd just go to the store and buy a bag.
I don't cook mine well done. Mine is medium well. I just don't want blood on my plate.
Roger, why don't we next time I chance find one of these forts that have a working oven, figure out what the recipe was for their bread or whatever there was the soldiers ate, find a World War I recipe or even a late 19th century recipe and cook it in the oven. Go to one of the forts and cook whatever they ate and test it. Shouldn't we start bringing food into this? There's a working.
I have a recipe for hardtack.
Yeah.
The stuff they ate in the Civil War.
I'm good.
Roger, what do you think? Can we come up with some recipes?
But the easiest way out is to go and buy some very cheap corned beef and feed ourselves on that, because they gave that to the soldiers in the French army, and they were horrified because it was if you buy decent quality corned beef, it's delicious. I love having corned beef and tomato sandwiches. It's one of my favorites. But if you buy very, very cheap corned beef, or slushy and yucky, they used to feed that to the soldiers. Well, the officers were eating, wild boar and pheasant and lobster and caviar. They gave the soldiers really cheap, but the only meat they got was very cheap corned beef. And they never believed it was beef. There was this rumor went around that they were feeding the soldiers on monkey. So they call it sange in French. And it's always sange. It's monkey. Revolting.
We gotta make it. Hey, rank has its privileges.
Yeah. Spam and corned beef. What is the difference exactly? But we need to cook this. We need to find the World War I recipes and make the food.
Corned beef is salted beef.
I can actually get you. I think I have some. Believe it or not, I think I have some recipes from World War I and World War II.
I know how to make sauerbraten.
I gotta check my hard drive, but I'm pretty sure that I still have them. I even got one where I was reproducing the D bars.
Well, I think we should go to the forts and cook whatever the soldiers were fed from scratch when I get out there. I think we got to Roger, try to figure out if there's any of them have a working kitchen to the degree where we can actually do that, because that sounds like fun. Maybe.
Why do you need a working kitchen?
We go to Andersonville. I am not going to eat what they ate at Andersonville.
Hey, if I can get I have to get Andersonville here. No.
Roger?
Oh yeah. No. Yeah, go ahead.
Because you don't have to go to a fort. You need one of those mobile kitchens, and you boil everything in it: potatoes, vegetables, make soup.
No, we want one of those where they have the oven working.
When Tino gets his own bunker or whatever, I'm the cook in it.
I mean, bunker oven is it's like the fort that we had on yesterday. They had a functioning oven that, it's not connected, so it's going to be. But Festa de Wagner, I think they have a bunker oven. Mutzig, I think they have an oven that's connected and working. There's got to be one of these forts that has one. I know in Henstholm, every December, they set up like for a week where the soldiers move into Christmas quarters and they cook pancakes and cook the food, and people can visit and see how the German soldiers lived there, if I can make myself out there that time. But there's got to be somewhere in one of these forts where they can actually cook in their original place.
I need is y'all to make an open fire pit with a good flame and cast iron, and I can cook. I can bake on it.
And it will be educational.
I know how to do it. Yeah. It would, because
the one thing that
Hey,
people forget
You're
about
like
is
down in Tampa
they-
right
they-
now. They don't have electricity.
Well,
they talk about what people in the forces ate in the First World War and the Second World War and everything like that. What about the civilians who were traveling from one place to another to try and get away from the war and the killing and everything? And what did they eat?
Anything they could find.
I was going to
Okay.
say, I mean, basically, I mean,
My mother,
they were not going to be off as well off as you know, some
True.
well,
my
Tommy
mama
who is
told me that she went when Berlin fell. She went and stole a pot of borscht from a Russian mess hall. Okay, that she said it hated it. It was nasty. It was greasy, but it fed him for 3 days. My grandmother, my tante, and my mama. And then my aunt and mama would go to the American mess hall, and they would get potato peelings.
Yep.
Take it home, and Oma would make potato soup
Um,
out of potato peelings.
um,
And I swear, my mother, till the day she died, she
Wow.
could peel a potato and you could hold it up and see through it, the skin.
the
Roger, you got a question on the star forts.
yes.
yeah, to find a lot of blocked off tunnels and underground tunnels in star forts. Yeah, well, if for a very earliest example, if you go to Dover Castle, you will find that there are what are they called? The anti-mining tunnels, and they had those even in the Serre de Riviere forts right up until the 1870s, where you would dig tunnels under where you'd think the enemy would want to undermine your walls. And you could break into their tunnel and have a fight with shovels and knives by candlelight. Yeah, that's what you find. But because they're blocked off because you don't want the enemy to break into them and come into your fort via that tunnel. Yeah, there are blocked off
Yeah, but
tunnels, a lot of them.
Didn't they
Okay,
just
they've been
uncover one recently?
since what?
Are you seeing a lot of them today still? Are they still there?
Well,
I mean, a lot
you've
of
got to
them
know where
collapsed,
to look
right?
because when you're inside the fort, no, they're blocked off. You see, you don't see the tunnel. It's sealed at the fort end, and you've got to look on the original building plans to find them. But if you go to Dover Castle, then you can actually you can creep down some of these tunnels. They're the anti-mining tunnels. They're still there
Didn't
to
the
guard against the
English
French burrowing under your wall. Sorry.
didn't the English dig tunnels trying to get over to the German side, and they were packing them full of explosives and blow them up?
Yeah, that's why we had the giant craters.
Yeah, the French
Okay.
started that as well. Yeah,
Boom.
yeah, yeah.
Still one of the biggest
There's the
explosions
Butte de
ever had.
Vauquois when the Germans dug right down to the bottom of the valley from the remains of this village at the top of the hill, and they created 3 gigantic caverns to blow the whole hill to pieces. In 1918, they were fed up with the mine warfare that had been going on for 3 years, and they put 250 tons of dynamite or other explosive in each
good
of the
grief.
3 caverns. And when I take my students there, I say, "Are you nervous? Are you prepared for a shock?" And they say, "No, we're all very brave." I say, "Well, under your feet there are 750 tons of explosive that's been there since 1918, and some of them actually start to run away." And I say, "You're going to have to run 5 miles to get away from this lot." But the only thing is that the caverns are full of water, and the French engineers that went in and helped the association that runs the place, they said, the caverns are full of water. Leave them full of water. If the explosives dry out, then they start to deteriorate, and then you're in big trouble. So with all the drought we've had around here, I just hope that the tunnels are still full of water. I've got to take my school kids up there in 3 days' time. I don't want the tunnels to be dry. Thank you.
Hey, Tino.
Yes.
I mean, if we're going to be cooking out in the field, I guess we're going to need a potato masher.
I mean, of course, right? So, all right.
Hey,
So
I missed something in that inside joke.
Oh,
that's what the German grenade was referred to as. So, okay. So,
Stick grenade.
did they actually mash potatoes? World War I, World War II. I think the soldiers who had limited amount of potatoes would not have mashed them because they were afraid of actually losing content. So, did they actually mash potatoes?
They probably made potato soup.
that's
That's
what
what I
I
would
define as
assume.
potato soup.
They used to put potatoes in with the corned beef, make a corned beef hash type thing.
But they
Because
wouldn't mash them.
the potato,
yeah.
the potato, if you mash the potato up in the corned beef, it would actually thicken up the corned beef once it
don't-
cooled down a little bit.
I don't
because
care
there's so
for
much
corned
fat in
beef.
it. Well, if that's all you got to eat,
I'll eat
then
grass.
it doesn't matter what you care for.
No,
If you're
there's
hungry
some.
enough.
No, there are
You've
some
got
things
two.
in this world I will starve before I will eat it.
Not a whole lot.
I mean,
Well, snails are
potted
the worst
meat.
thing. Have you ever tried eating snails in France?
Yes,
They're
sir.
revolting. That's why the
Yeah,
Michelin brothers,
gross.
they made rubber
Yeah, how is
tires
that-
when they ate snails. Very black
How is
I
that
fixed
thing.
considered a
that. I
Black
put a
delicacy?
rubber.
lot of garlic in mine.
I mean, how is it considered a delicacy? I honestly want to know
Oh,
who picked up one of these things one day and said, "This looks like a great tasting snot." I don't
Well,
get it.
hey, look, you guys sit there and eat raw damn oysters, and that's like eating elephant boogers on a shell.
oh.
I mean, on survival
Ugh.
maneuvers, we would eat snails because it's the only thing we could that there was.
And it's
We
pure
would take
protein.
snails and poison ivy and boil it together with a bunch of salt, and it was not delicious. But if you're hungry enough, incidentally, that's kind of how lobster became a thing. Lobster was this crappy animal that they ate during the Depression because there was nothing else to eat, and somebody picked it up and go like, "Oh well, maybe we'll try this." So it was the poor man's food. That's how lobster started.
That's like
I
winkles
would rather
and
have
things like that.
crawdads than lobster.
I won't eat either one. Nope.
Oh,
All of
you
your
just
small
need to go to a good
shellfish,
bowl.
with your cheap, your poor man's food
I don't like eating
around
things that bite back.
around the coasts.
Pinto
Yeah.
beans, fried taters,
Winkles and
cornbread.
things like that. You take an awful lot of winkles to actually make a meal up, and they are bloody horrible.
The world is going up.
Well, it's like
No,
my
he's not.
daddy. He would not eat tuna fish because he ate so much tuna in World War II. He wouldn't eat tuna salad.
You just have to sprinkle it with a little dolphin. It's better that way.
Yeah, see, well, I keep telling everybody that
Ah.
on my pizza when I say
Tino,
that.
that
But
is
instead of
no.
instead of tuna safe dolphin, I eat dolphin safe tuna.
I mean, exactly.
You know,
I-
in reverse.
Yeah.
I have a theory when it comes to food that the cuter an animal is, the better it'll taste on toast.
Especially if you can pet. Well,
Oh,
they're easy to catch
okay.
because you can get up there and you can cuddle with it and just shank it. I mean, it's
Tino, is du
It's a
verrückt
win-win
oder
situation.
Bräudiger?
Say again?
Is du verrückt oder Bräudiger? Or bisschen stinks.
I volunteered to live in LA. I must be crazy.
Yeah.
But when they're freezing to death in Europe, I will not be. I'll be
Hey.
fighting
No,
the zombie
Talking about
apocalypse
Europe,
like
how
Alan
about here in
Jackson.
Canada? We're freezing already. It's only like 2 degrees. Bloody hell.
Hey, my
I knew one of them
gas
had to be a
bill
Canadian.
for
Oh,
heat
yes.
in the summer and the winter is like $90 down here because it don't
Yeah.
get that cold.
Well, if I'm really hungry, I'll take my Schofield 45 and I'll blow away a wild boar and roast that. That'll keep me going for a week or two.
Hang on, you have wild boar out there near you?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's in France.
Yeah, they
You
run across
do?
the road all the time. Yeah.
for the Canadian.
Why,
Yeah.
Tino? You want to go wild boar hunting? We can go out to Fort
Yes.
Benning. You can go out to Fort
Very
Benning
cool.
and there's wild boar all over the place.
Love
Because
wild boar.
one of my husband's friends went out there. This is about 5-6 years ago. Went bow hunting out on their old range,
Hell no.
and Mama Boar didn't like him.
I was gonna go. Yeah, no.
And she ran him up a tree. He was stuck up a pine tree for 4 hours.
Yeah, I'm not going to chase something that weighs a ton with tusks that are pissy with anything but bullets.
Yeah, and
I
large
told him, I
caliber ones
said,
at that.
it was so bad he had his cell phone with him, but he had no coverage where they were at.
Yeah,
So
no,
he
no,
couldn't
no,
call.
no, no.
Well, dumbest thing that ever happened to me was out at the farm. Except, most of the cows that we had were actually lunch. They were just getting bred for lunch. But one of them was a bull, and one of them was actually a pet. He thought he was a dog. The most terrifying thing that ever happened to me is I'm out in the middle of the field walking through to go to the range we have in the back, and you hear what sounds like a herd of elephants. You look behind you, and here comes this bull, and he's dancing. He's swinging his legs back and forth. I'm like, oh hell no! I bailed right through the electric fence. I didn't even care.
Hey, I had the same thing happen to me. One other thing that was bad about it. I was like 7 months pregnant. My ex-brother-in-law said he never saw anybody scream so loud and run so damn hard.
Shaken, not stirred, huh?
Yeah, Oscar was big. That was one big bull.
We did have one of the interesting guys at the bike shop that had gone boar hunting out here in California. Speaking of, and for some reason, he was very proud of himself because he actually dispatched a boar, according to him, when he came back with a knife. It has roamed in. He was sitting by his tent, and he came in close at night, and he saw it sitting there, and he jumped it with a knife, and he stabbed it to death, tossed it in the back of his pickup truck, and then drove off. Because we figured, we're not really allowed to do this sort of thing, specifically not with a knife. And then the next day, he saw on I can't remember what town it was, that town's local newspaper, then the town's pig had gone missing.
Oh God!
So he ate the evidence, and we won't speak of it again.
He did a boo boo.
Hey, I can't. Not that kind of story.
I have a story from the Second World War. Story from the Second World War. The only action my late father, ever saw in World War II in Burma. It was with all his comrades. They were sleeping in this old hut they found in the middle of the jungle. And in the middle of the night, they were all woken up with a gigantic crash. In the end wall fell down. And they all grabbed their useless 38 caliber revolvers because they thought it was a Japanese kamikaze attack. And it was a giant wild pig. And it charged right through the middle of this hut. And everybody was shooting at it. They all missed. It smashed down the wall at the other end and ran off. Yeah, that was the only action he ever saw in World War II, luckily. Or I might not have been here. If it was a Japanese kamikaze attack, I wouldn't be here speaking to you now, probably. Yeah.
So what medal would you get if you got wounded by a boar attack?
Only thing I know, I have not seen them myself out on Fort Veterans, but there are some big boars out there.
I know. I met a few in the German forest when I was walking my puppy when he was 8-9 months old, and we were walking through a Polish forest, and he was very attentive at something, and I had no idea. We were just walking the dog, and right in front of us, 4 or 5 yards away, these two gigantic boar jumped up and ran away from us, and he sort of scared him up, and I'm like, holy hell. I was just they could have done the opposite. They could have just run us over. I had no idea he sniffed up 2 boars, and neither did he.
My ex-husband got chased by one in Grafenville. Thank God, he said, thank God the window was down on the 880 pickup truck because he went through the window. and that boar hit the damn truck, shook the truck, and put a huge dip in the door.
My brother and I were driving through Georgia, And
Yeah.
he still to this day tells everybody, he goes, my brother's an idiot. We're driving through, and we had never seen, at this point, I had never went, boar hunting, and never seen a wild boar. So we're driving through in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden we our headlights hit a whole bunch of them. And you're talking, back in the day of the Instamatic camera. So I grabbed the camera, and he's like, what are you doing? And I took off running right for him. He's like, you idiot, those things kill people. I'm sitting there trying to take pictures of him. I'm like, get back here, you little son of a...
Hey, I can remember also being in Grafenveer. I was driving late at night. I didn't know rabbits run in herds.
Yeah.
There was, and in Germany, rabbits
You
ate
never
liver.
watched Monty Python?
I mean, well, I was watching Monty Python when I was 9 years old.
Nee.
I did not know, but no, about 75, 80 of them ran out across the road. And in Germany, they're not small rabbits. They're big.
Target-rich environment?
Oh, very target-rich environment. All I needed was a dang, what's a flipping mind names?
Shotgun.
Nope.
Watership down, isn't it? Hey, watership down.
Minigun.
Yeah, well, it would have been nice
Meet
with
the cast. Seen the
a
movie.
machine gun or a
Eat the-
sock, because you could just mow them all
Eat the
down.
stuff. In the cast. Yeah.
But I had never seen rabbits that big.
We had rabbit in Spain. My mom lived in the Canary Islands, and we went to visit sometimes. And they have wild rabbit. It's a delicacy, and it was actually pretty good. Crispy, conejo. And I had a rabbit as a child, so I was not conflicted. But I could see why it would be too lean to something you'd want to. It needs a little gravy, and it needs some nice potatoes and some sauce and stuff. I will say. But I do think that we have to do. I don't know, when I'm thinking about ideas for the food show, cooking World War I, cooking war style, cooking how the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s. I think I could do a little spin-off on what they ate. I think that could be interesting. Maybe nutrition.
Might get some people sick too.
I've got a recipe book for civilians in the UK for how to beat rationing.
I have a recipe how to make a mock apple pie,
and what they could do to make food more interesting.
Like I said, I have a recipe in one of my
Not
books.
appealing at all.
But it's how to make a mock apple pie. And what you use were Ritz crackers.
Horrible.
No, actually, it's pretty good.
The British had some interesting post-war recipes and during war recipes. You know what? I'm going to put out the call for recipes, like weird recipes.
Britain was still having I've forgotten what it's called. Rationing. Up until 1955.
And my dad remembers.
Mama ate fricadelle.
So I mean, you've got the situation that it's like at the Queen's coronation.
Jubilee. Yes.
At the coronation, the coronation chicken was they used red wine, not white wine, so it looked gross. But apparently that was something that was very cheap to make because there were plenty of chickens about. And everybody got the same thing. Didn't matter who you were. Anybody who was invited to the Queen's coronation 70 years ago, or almost 70 years ago, got the same thing, and it was because of rationing. They couldn't have the proper state banquets and things like that.
But
I can
Paul,
remember when I was in the Army cooking in a steel pot. Oh,
I
for
still do.
sterno.
I cook in a steel pot anyway.
No, I'm
But
talking
Paul,
about what you put on your head.
oh yeah, that
That kind
I
of
was
steel
using
pot.
one of those.
Oh, them,
But
the Kevlar now, aren't they?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't use it for
You can't
that.
cook in those. Mate.
my first issue was steel pot. But Paul, for the coronation for that day, I seem to remember there was extra rations of eggs and sugar handed out, maybe milk as well for that day, so people could bake some of their first actual cakes with sugar since the war. Or does memory not serve?
No. I have to add here. I was born the very month that sugar rationing ended, and so my mother, I think, must have fed me on chocolate and cakes and sweet things. And several British dentists, their whole holidays were paid by treating my teeth and filling the holes in them. And that was
But that's what
March
I feed you when I'm out
1949, the very month of sugar rationing ended. Sorry?
That's what I feed you when I'm out
There we
there.
are. I know one day.
One day, 1949.
Right. March 1949, the very month that sugar rationing ended.
But it was a gradual release, as like Paul said. There was full rationing didn't end for a while.
No, 1955 was the last
Yeah.
rationing. Because I've still got my mother's rationing book.
I have some ration coupon books myself. We bought in an antique store.
So do I. They have pictures of the Führer on them, so no one will catch them.
Oh, mine do not have pixels of the Führer on them. Mine are American.
I go down to Los Angeles Food Bank with my food stamps on the Führer, and I said, please give me schnitzel.
They go, what? What schnitzel?
You're getting shot, probably.
You just gave me.
Well, you know.
I'm cooking schnitzel tomorrow night.
Raymond, I'm with you. I do not eat pig's trotters, pig's feet, and knuckles and stuff. Although some people say they're delicious, pig's trotters.
No.
I don't know.
I don't eat critter.
Pig's trotters. Yeah, the dish the fatal dish that Louis XVI bought. Yeah.
Don't eat pigs.
Is that good?
King Louis XVI. Sorry?
Is it good?
Yeah, pig's trotters. It's a speciality of a restaurant down here in Saint-Ménehould. And King Louis XVI, when he was escaping from Paris to get away from the mob after the revolution, he put his whole family into a gigantic coach. I mean, if I was going to save my family, I'd have disguised the girls as boys. I'd have ridden through the night at full speed to get to the Austrian garrison at Normandy, where we'd have been safe, because Marie Antoinette was Austrian, so they'd have taken us in and looked after us. No, so what did they do? They got an enormous coach, and they rode slowly across the countryside. They were drawn by 6 white horses, the mark of nobility, and at every spot where there was a delicacy, they had to stop off and eat it. And they ate the pig's trotters in Saint-Ménehould. And the king, being an honest man, he didn't want anybody to give him the pig's trotters. He paid for it with a gold coin with his head on it. And that's how they recognized he was the king making a run for it. And that's how they caught him. And of course, they got taken back to Paris, where he and his wife, they had a very severe haircut in the end, didn't they, basically?
Yep. Well, all right, we have to go there when I come back. Because I guess we have to go there.
They eat fried pig ears here.
Oh, it's delicious.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. And by the time I get back, if I get to Europe this winter, people will be starving and eating pig's trotters anyway because they have to.
Hey, I'm still trying to figure out how to fund a trip to
eating pig's tails as well.
Well, pig's trotters make what's it called?
Glue.
No.
I'm not eating anything that stands in poop.
Oh, my mum used to make it.
And
nice.
Hey, Crystal.
Yes.
You can cook in a Kevlar pot, but you have to use a microwave.
Oh no,
Huh.
no.
Right.
It's better in a steel pot. When I went in the Army, I was issued the old pickle green uniforms. Camouflage hadn't come out yet.
When did you go in?
1981.
I went in 62.
My brother went in 70. Daddy went in 42.
Well, they had camouflage in 42. Well,
Yep.
the Germans did.
Here, I
Yes,
got
that's
some
it.
stuff that'll
Oh,
help.
I did find out one thing. One of my daughter's grandfathers was in Alabama cavalry in the Civil War.
Hmm.
And then my fourth removed great grandfather was in Tennessee.
Yeah, I got some stuff.
Where in
here.
Tennessee?
I'll tell you what. I'll
Well,
take-
they lived in Limestone County, Alabama, and Limestone's like right up next to Tennessee, the border. And he didn't want to go into Huntsville to join their militia, so he went up into Tennessee. It was closer from him for the farm if he went to Tennessee.
Yeah, my buddy just built a house right on the line of the battle, where it started up in Murfreesboro.
Now, I know part of my daddy's family was still in Arkansas when
Which
they
battle?
had that I think it's a Pea Ridge in Arkansas.
Yeah.
I read somewhere one of my cousins got a letter that they sit there and pretty much heard them with the cannons, and they could see them riding through, going to Pea Ridge, which where they lived was right next to Oklahoma. Well, Indian Territory, Oklahoma.
That was good.
My grandmother was born in Oklahoma, but according to her birth certificate, it's Indian Territory.
Invaded the Ukraine. 2 hours before they invaded Ukraine, they took out a French and a Dutch communication satellites, cut off our internet, and then took.
Whoa,
Oh yes,
They just touched him.
They're still cutting him off.
I know.
Yeah.
Damn Russians going after Roger. What the hell? Roger, where did you go?
Since we were talking about cooking, though, hey Tino, I got something for you here.
Yeah.
There's that's a habanero. Okay, that's the least
Holy
of it.
cow!
What about a ghost pepper? No. What
Uh,
about a death spiral?
How about I get some? Hey, I could get you some. What are they? The ones from Carolina.
Well, this one right here is the unofficial world champion right now. 2.4 million Scoville units of heat.
Oh God!
This single pepper would probably kill every one of us in the room.
It probably gives me a heart attack.
Roger,
Well,
come back.
Carolina, that pepper is called Carolina Reaper.
Yep. Yeah, I grew I grew everything from jalapeno to let me see here.
I ate a small
Habaneros,
piece.
Trinidad scorpions, death spiral peppers, dragon's breasts, ghost peppers, and I've got a whole bunch of them. There's some of them actually right behind me drying right now.
I actually ate a very small piece, not even an inch long piece of jerky with Carolina Reaper in it. Oh,
spicy
my
food is
God.
to cure diseases, not to eat.
I drank a half a
Tell that
gallon
about
of
the
milk.
Indians.
Trying to
You know,
get them fire out.
American Indians. We have a-
But here's something I can tell you about these though. They're not just for eating. They're actually good for medicinal purposes, for pain and stuff like that. You know, you can actually rub one of these things on your leg and it'll numb it real quick. But you know,
Get
there
stung
is.
by a bee, you can use Copenhagen, take the sting out.
Yep. I actually keep a bottle of Cope in the toolbox, along with toilet paper and a roll of duct tape. Who needs Band-Aids?
It does the job. Does
That's
the
what we
same.
pretty much did in the meat department when we cut ourselves.
Yep. Toilet roll
Okay.
and a bit of duct tape. That was good enough.
Yep.
Hey, Tino.
Yep.
Tino, Question. Do you think Adolf Hitler knew of all the underground bunkers that were being built during the Second World War?
You mean the special project sites or the factories, or you mean
Yeah,
did the
pretty much. Do you think some of the generals decided to build some underground bunkers, and did Hitler know about all of them, or was it just
No.
hit or miss?
I'm going to go with a no towards the end of the war. I think Hitler was very well informed, and he had a keen memory for things. And initially, towards the beginning of the war, in the early years, I think everybody informed him of what was going on to some degree. I think there's a lot of events Himmler did not inform him of. There was things that was kept from him, since it was possible to keep from between Bormann and Himmler and the surrounders, those who surrounded Hitler in the inner circle. It was completely possible to keep things from him. And towards the end, when it came to like hiding places of things, I'm pretty sure he was not informed of a lot of it, because entities were out to save things for themselves. They were out to save themselves, and people like Kamla was hiding things.
Look at all the stuff
He
Goering
might
had.
even have told Himmler about. I think towards the end, especially the last year, there were things constructed and hidden away that there was compartmentalized for certain parts of the leadership. Individual high rankers were doing things, lower rankers were doing things. Then there was Himmler doing things Hitler wasn't aware of. I'm sure Bormann, on a paper level, stashed things away. Schellenberg made plans. I think it started to disintegrate towards the latter couple of years of the war, and people started doing things on. And sometimes they would hide diamonds and gold and things that have been buried quickly, have popped up from time to time, that fleeing soldiers or units had hidden without even anybody knowing about, without orders. But I think there was a shut off of certain information from Hitler by the SS.
Well, Goring had that huge cave that had all that art in it.
Well,
that
several of them had those,
snagged.
especially in France. But I'm saying, Tino, is from what I could find, as soon as even 42 and 43, they were already trying to build places to go because they knew things were going very, very badly. They just didn't want to tell the boss.
Yeah.
Well,
I think so
think
too.
about it. The last year that Hitler was alive, he was literally so juiced up on those drugs his doctor gave him that,
Yeah, he's like my neighbor, the tweaker.
yeah, I mean, they could have told him, "Oh, we've got London Bridge," and he'd probably believe it.
Yeah, it was Cheech, Chong, and Adolf.
You know, I read the book of Morel, his doctor, and I read all the books written by anybody around him. And one thing that's been pretty much to a consensus is that he was sharp until the end. Now, drugs do different things. I think he would. You take people who are on or cocaine. They have a short, sharp, intense energy and focus, and then they drift off into the valley of that. You have people on meth, a little bit the same, euphoria, optimism, and then they drift off. But they still somewhat function to some degree. I would say if they doped him up with weed, he might start forgetting. That's another part of the problem with meth is you start forgetting. Short-term memory starts going. All the different drugs have different effects, and I think he was certainly effective. But to what degree did he not know what he was doing, even if there was ups and downs? That is something that never really was properly explored.
I still think if he would have left his generals alone,
yes,
because he wasn't okay. He was a private. What the hell did he know about?
He was a corporal.
I mean, what did he know about
World War One, he was.
maneuvers or moving people around or the best ways to go, because he did so many when he sat there and split the military in Russia.
Well,
Sent
see
the
that's
one bunch down to get the oil, and then the other one went to Stalingrad.
that's the thing though. Towards the beginning of the war, he actually was tactically doing things correct. It was when the more it seemed like almost the more he got drugged, the worse he became when it came to matters of the military, and that was about the time during Stalingrad when he was doing the good old shots and everything, wasn't it, Tino?
I mean, you can make correlations between bad decisions, lack of attentions, and the times where he had spells of dysentery. When he was sick, he made worse decisions, like I think most people probably would. But generally tactical, he had some very sound ideas. And I'm not going to blame it all on him, because sometimes he had better ideas or instincts than his generals. His generals, all below him, was very big on infighting and not doing what they said they were going to do and outright lying to him. No one was ever shot for this, was dismissed in droves, but no one was actually ever shot for lying or disobeying orders to Hitler. I think you had a lot of different military opinions underneath him pulling in different directions, some of them away from his, and I'm not going to praise the man, but some of the choices, decisions, and things he pointed out were actually very smart. But they weren't always followed. And I think it would be an interesting breakdown to, actually, maybe I should do that when I don't have to work and edit and work. I would like to take Morell's diary as to when Hitler was specifically worse health-wise and make parallels between that and the decisions made and how. So somewhere between, that would be an interesting study. I'd like to try to see if I can find time to dive into those and make those parallels, because that would be interesting to see.
They're screwed up with the Luftwaffe, because after Battle of Britain, Luftwaffe was shot to hell.
No, it wasn't.
They had a little comeback in '44, but yeah, they never really regained.
A very short comeback, yeah.
After the ball bearing factory of Schweinfurt shot down 60, 70 planes, there was no Allied air activity for 5 months. But again, too late. And Schweinfurt didn't really make much of a difference anyway. But we cover that in that ball bearing tunnel.
Well, the argument is, going back with the whole Russian campaign and stuff like that, is if he would not have went and pissed around in Stalingrad, if he would have just kept going forward like he was, he would have had Moscow. They were there. They had it. But he diverted all those sources to go to Stalingrad because it had the name of Stalin.
He split that one army up where one half went south and the other went north. And that's where I think he screwed up.
That's one of the places he screwed
up.
Well, if he hadn't gone for Leningrad,
he was taking on too big of armies in two different directions.
If he hadn't have gone for Leningrad and taken the Leningrad ones to Moscow and then the others to Stalingrad and to the Balkans, the reason they needed Stalingrad was to stop them attacking the oil fields from the other side. The mistake he made was going for Leningrad.
He should have done one or the other.
Well, they would have been very exposed. If they didn't at least they would have to somehow either stop at Stalingrad or hold territory to stifle a Russian attack on their supply lines if they kept going for the oil fields and just bypassed it.
Yeah.
But that was a mess. Leningrad, they encircled and bypassed, which was probably fairly smart. Hitler always wanted to go south and not towards Moscow, but Halder wanted
those oil fields.
He wanted the oil fields, and that's what Stalin thought he was going to do. So when Halder rewrote the plan without telling Hitler and went for Moscow with the bulk of his army, that is where things started going awry, because that's not what Hitler wanted. He wanted the oil fields. He wanted Ukraine. He wanted that, didn't want Swift trust. And then when Halder's approach to Moscow got stifled, they had to start helping each other. And that's where things started slowing down and going wrong. I don't even think the diversion into Greece would have made much of a difference, because they couldn't advance on the eastern flank at that time anyway because of the weather. So, but again, here you had the disagreement between the general staff and what Hitler wanted, where Hitler would have been proved right. Although Stalin had placed most of his armies on the south because he thought a smart Hitler would have gone there. So Stalin was surprised that the army went towards Moscow. He didn't think that was going to be the case. So again,
Well,
I still think Hitler screwed up by opening up a second front.
Every time you do that, that's a screw up.
Yeah,
I mean, you had to go to the west. And it's like in the new movie.
Yeah.
Everything went to the east. And the Western Wall was just little to nothing.
Sideshow, yeah. He should have consolidated everything in the east. And Stalin, even when they were halfway through Ukraine and into Russia, Stalin sued for a ceasefire after they had taken several hundred kilometers. He should have taken that and then regrouped there. But you could also say that if he had gone to Russia with the true intention of at least pretending to liberate the Russian people from Stalin, he would have turned 80% of the Russian people against Stalin on his side. He wouldn't have had any rare action going against him, no partisans, and he would probably have won the war in the East. And that's a matter of
Ukraine, because Stalin had decimated the Ukrainian nationals in 1935.
He did that, starving them to death, right?
Well,
he did that in 1935 by moving half of them to Siberia.
Starving a third of them.
1922 was actually when they starved over 5 million as well.
Yeah, a third of the Ukrainians' population by Stalin's policies.
Correct.
And he actually accused them of being traitors to the communists' manifesto by doing so. Said they were starving themselves deliberately to sabotage him. He said, false statement.
You know what's ridiculous? I'm going to say it, and it's probably going to make a couple people mad in here, but welcome to modern times as well. What are we seeing right now?
Same thing happening.
In 1891, the Ukrainians tried to go on their own, and they got brought back. In 1918, they were screwed again. In 1945, they were screwed again, and then here we are in when they got it in 1991. Then Putin said, for a fact, he goes, "I'm going to take back my territory."
Yeah.
And here we are in modern times. He's tried it. He ain't gonna nuke nobody. He knows that if he does, all the NATO countries around him, including Poland and Germany, which Poland is wanting to give Putin the smoke to begin with. You know, they're still salty after World War II, and of course the Germans like World War III will win this one.
Well, the only one in that area that has tactical nukes would be England.
Poland got them.
No, Britain.
All of our nukes are gone. Lance retired, Persian retired.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. No. We still got enough here to melt down the earth about 3,000
Yeah, on ICBMs.
No, you got a few others there and then.
You've got all of your stuff on here.
Britain,
you don't think the portable version of Atomic Annie's still not sitting in the back lot somewhere?
We thought so.
Britain
well, I know there's not any Pershing left.
Persian, like they're old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Then why was Russia so damn scared of a P2?
Well, because they didn't have anything to equal it. They might have had a Tsar bomb, but that's one bomb. If they couldn't deliver it properly, you had so many of the damn things too. It's like, I mean, you're in the situation
we only had 3 firing. Wait, I take that back. We had 9 firing batteries.
That we know about.
Okay.
But yeah, batteries.
Damn it! I am the Loyal Member of the 66th Field Artillery Brigade. I know how many batteries we had.
Yeah, but a battery isn't just one missile, is it?
No.
That's what I'm guessing at.
You have to get the other missile if you fire the 3 batteries. If the batteries fire their 3 missiles. It still takes another 45 minutes to 2 hours to uncrate. the new warheads and everything else with the first and second stages to set them up on the launchers before we can run the programs to get it to go
Correct.
again. But
Sure.
that's just saying if nothing went wrong with the GNC, any of the stages,
But you
or
also had
putting
your,
tats in.
All I'm saying is that the people right now, especially in this country, that are paranoid, saying that Putin's going to nuke New York, he's not going to do it.
No.
I keep telling them over and over again, he's not going to do it, and there's a very big reason why. Because he knows if he does, there won't be a Russia left to defend.
Well, true, and if he's gonna send nukes, he's gonna send them up to North Dakota and all there because that's where all the ICBMs are.
Well,
He
see,
said London first. He said London first.
yeah, he did.
Well, then
Washington, New York,
he
the
did.
traditional,
Winnipeg.
San Diego. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a nuclear war. I don't know what happened to the.
No, nuclear war makes no sense because the only time that the nukes have been used is when one power had them and nobody else did. If you use them now, the problem is, I mean,
Everybody
just
got 'em.
in a good scenario, Russia sends up 100 missiles, takes out half of the western seaboard of the United States. They're not taking out every submarine. They're just not. Not in one strike.
One of them.
And that's all it takes is one submarine and Russia's gone. One boomer and that's it. Done.
I think Luki actually has a point. What we're forgetting, this is not really about war.
No,
this
it's
is
about
about
business.
money. It's not about, we can't go destroy each other. We need to have a war so everybody can make money. The Ukrainians, the Russians, and our defense contractors.
War is
So
very
all
lucrative.
this saber rattling about nuclear weapons, even if Putin was to use a tactical nuclear weapon or two, we're not going to do anything about it. Also because both nor America economic ability or the fuel to get into a shooting war with Russia, so we can sit and complain and bitch and moan and sell the Ukrainians $700 more billion of stuff where only half of it's going to get there. This is about money. It's not really about war. The Ukrainian people are paying for it, but it's about money. It's not
I
about
agree. I completely agree. But here, think about this too, Tino. What was the the age-old argument, especially during the Cold War? If the U.S. and Russia got into a fight, who would win?
Mad.
We already showed,
Mad.
Yeah.
Mutual assured destruction.
And Tino, I'll answer a question because I said something and somebody in the chat wanted to know. Raymond wanted to know why Winnipeg. Winnipeg is the headquarters for NATO in the north. So all the air defense from Russia to the United States to flies over Canada is based here. So we'd be off we'd have to be taken out of the map first because all of the NATO stuff is here.
Or Brussels.
Don't advertise it.
This is what I was getting at. Aside from the Tino, caught up real quick with the mutually assured destruction. What I'm saying is, there was always the age-old argument of who minus nukes, who would win in a battle, Russia or the U.S.
Iraq.
We've already figured that out. We've already figured it out. We sent them a bunch of our old equipment and loosely trained the soldiers in the Ukraine, and they just kicked the living crap out of the Russians. That was test one. Now imagine taking us in an actual full capacity against them. Russia's nothing but a paper tiger.
Well, I've always looked at it like this. I mean, if you go full United States versus Russia, you're not going to have United States versus Russia. In all likelihood, China's going to go with them.
China's going to go with Russia, but then we got all of NATO.
China tried that in Korea, and it didn't work out well for them.
No, it didn't work out. But the problem is you're never going to have just a straight up fight, United States versus Russia.
No,
never going to happen.
No.
Right? It's not going to happen. So the country that I look at a lot, and Tino, you might tell me I'm completely nuts, but the one that I look at is Japan. Because the United States is really good at supplying armies. World War I, World War II. That's where the United States made their money. Right? Lend-lease. Well, Japan's got the manpower. Japan's got an axe to grind. And Japan's been
was Poland.
actively
And-
trying to get an offensive
Poland?
military for
Poland's
years.
still
But
pissed.
China's got a hell of a lot more people than Japan.
I mean, China doesn't have much to gain from getting into a shooting war. That's why they've been waging an economic war against the West for a couple of decades. The Polish have an actual axe to grind, but you'd also have to get the Germans on board. And I don't know if they have the money, the economics, or the military to do it. You have to get all the proxies. Slovakia, Czechia, maybe they will Hungary. They're kind of peaceful in where they are. They don't might not want to play. So you have to get Germany and Poland on one board. You'd have to get Japan want to get the Pacific into it, and then you have to look at what Russia's gain to be to take out public targets like Washington and New York, or would they go strategic? And they have the capabilities. There's a lot of aspects, and nobody wants to get into this because, again, loss of life, loss of money. There's no economic benefit from this. No one's going to win politically by getting into this massive World War III. So we're going to have proxy wars and have everybody else do it.
Yeah. I think in the Second World War,
that's an old way.
But didn't Japan have something in there?
In the Second World War, Britain and Germany had huge stockpiles of chemical weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did they use them?
No.
No.
Nor do we know.
Why didn't they use them? Because they would have killed. So that's
mad
right.
again.
It would be a mad. Dropping 2 nuclear bombs on Japan, no problem, because nobody else had any then.
Yeah.
The Canadians had moose gas.
You know,
moose
so you're not going to, they're not going to.
This has to do with history, Dana.
But they can sit there and say, oh, we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, or we're going to do the other, but that's just bull.
No, a nuclear option.
Well, I still think we dropped those 2 bombs on Japan as payback for Pearl Harbor.
It was weapons testing. The last chance to test a new weapon before the war ended.
Yeah.
Well, what was it? A friend of mine is from Japan. His family moved here about 20 years ago, and so we were talking about this. We were talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki and all that stuff, and Pearl Harbor. And what he said, I couldn't quit laughing. I mean, I almost passed out. I was laughing so hard because he said he argued about the possible nuclear option now and stuff like that. He's like, guys, don't do it. Please don't do it. Don't screw with the U.S. And the buddy of ours is like, what are you talking about? He goes, dude, we sunk a couple of your boats and you unleashed the sun on us twice. We're just staring at him like, did you just say that for real? And his dad's just sitting there just shaking his head. I'm like, oh. But he agreed with that. He actually, his dad said to me when we were talking about this, he said that he did not agree with the nuclear option that we had taken, but he understood because if we had broke onto to mainland Japan, it would have drug out the war. Thousands more would have been killed. He said, the U.S. estimated 500,000 of us. He's like, I'm willing to bet it would have been more because they didn't know what we had hidden in Japan at the time.
Well, look, they firebombed Tokyo, and because of it mainly being wood
on paper,
they only did in one area, but it spread all over Tokyo.
Yeah. I mean, more people were killed in the Tokyo firebombing than they were in the nuclear bombs.
Exactly.
But another thing that we have to remember when we talk about the invasion of the mainland Japan is, would there really have been that big battle? Because a very large part of the Japanese population and politicians, and to some degree possibly the emperor, was ready to sue for peace and had reached out feelers several times before, even days before the nuclear bomb test and after, offering a surrender where we could theoretically negotiate terms, but the Japanese military did a slight coup because they wanted to continue the war.
That's true.
But it became too practical, and we landed on the beaches. Would they have?
That's true, but think about this though.
Well,
you have a hostile force landing on your property. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, I think I think the nuclear bomb drops was a political decision based on having to show hands, have to show the Russians that we have them, to show that we can use them, have to have a valid test bed, more so than an interest in a speedy end to the war. We knew the war in Japan was coming to an end. They were ready to surrender not far regardless. We had to show that we had to keep everyone knowing that we were the big dog. I think that is half of the reason.
Well, that's more or less what war is. It's a prick waving, it's a prick waving fight is what it is. Whose dick is bigger?
The United States has not detonated the biggest atomic bomb.
No, the Russians did.
That was a Tsar bomba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so then we can ask the next question. Would it really, and don't get me wrong now, hear me out, would it be so devastating if Russia lobbed off a couple of tactical nuclear weapons? And even if we retaliated on, or the Ukrainians by proxy did? I mean, if it goes if a nuclear weapon will take out 2, 3, 4 square miles of that place, it will not be the end of civilization per se. Tactical nuclear, 1 kiloton, 2 kilotons in atomic anti. It would be devastating for the people sitting in the immediate vicinity and under it, but it wouldn't be the end of the civilized world.
No, but
and I think that's also a concern that if you use it and you see, wait a minute, they used nuclear weapons and the world still goes on. Well, maybe it's not as bad. That would lend to nuclear proliferation.
Yeah,
okay,
but that also might embolden the others to say, okay, since they're not that bad, we can use them as well. And then things do go horribly bad, like you said. But
even if they did
a nuclear response, if they did use the tactical nukes, that's fine. Well, what are they going to do? The only thing I can come up with is, okay, we got a whole bunch of Moabs.
Yeah, Paul, what do you think?
I mean, a tactical nuke to, take out an area, if there's no reaction from the West to that, then Russia's laughing.
Well,
but
remember one thing, it's not only the nuclear.
But the point is that the West is not going to let Russia fire a tactical nuclear weapon without some comeback. Now, it might not be. Well, no,
there's going to be nuclear radiation and everything else when the bomb goes off. But
it's going to be it's going to be no bigger than Chernobyl and things like that, or 3 Mile Island and stuff like that.
It will be bigger, and it's not from radiation; it's from the EMP. If that happens,
well, if it's a 1 kiloton tactical, it wouldn't be.
I was going to say you're only talking about a little one.
Vehicles are not going to move.
No, I'm talking about a 1, 2, 3 kiloton tactical nuclear weapon. That doesn't do that much other than local damage.
We're not talking about a Trident.
The EMP, when that explodes, it leaves that EMP.
Not
local,
but
only local.
Only localized.
We're talking about a tactical.
Yeah, EMPs only hit a little bit around land.
That's what I mean. And one thing the Germans were working on with the thorial nuclear weapons that the Russians picked up on is having low radiation nuclear weapons, so there wouldn't be the radioactive downfall after, so they could march troops in there safely. Now, if that's true, and the Russians have tactical nuclear weapons of a low fallout, that's a whole different thing. Now you have localized damage.
That's the same principle.
Wouldn't that be a plutonium bomb?
Something to that effect.
Because that's kind of what they do. They go out and they suck back in. So it's kind of yeah.
That would be a game changer, because if a few went off, a couple of cities disappeared, and nothing else, we're not going to retaliate for that. The Europeans are not.
It'll make your elections entertaining.
They already are.
Our elections are already ridiculously entertaining. Thank you very much.
We have elections.
It's not what.
Yeah,
it's
no,
not-
but what we do have a guy that likes to sniff kids. I mean, that's what we're stuck with.
And you also, you,
I
it's-
don't think
it's not
y'all
the,
understand
it's not up
where
to
I'm
you.
coming from with the
it's
No,
not
we,
up
we
to
know, Crystal, we know what you're saying, but we're saying with you know, with the EMP and stuff like that, that would be a localized situation. That would not be a widespread, and it wouldn't stay for, you know, forever.
Yep. You're correct.
The EMP would only happen if you went into a semi-mad situation where if they fired a couple of tactical nuclear weapons, a Trident submarine decided to, the captain's orders are, if you don't
I
hear anything
remember
from
what
us.
I was taught by the United States Army on EMP.
Well, I'm just going by what I
Hey,
know.
Roger's back.
Because if the EMP gets out, none of the vehicles, radios, or anything else will run or can be repaired.
Some
But
things
only in the area where it happened.
can.
Only in the
You
locality.
can drop an EMP in the bed of that truck and it'll still start.
And as
It's-
I'm
it's a-
running
it's
on
a
old
kiss method.
motorcycles, they will still run. They will not be affected.
Roger, what happened to you? We went to nuclear war.
Yeah.
What
So I
happened to
thought
you? We started
Putin
the
struck
nuclear
again
war
like he
since
did.
you were gone.
Well, yeah. Well, the morning that Putin attacked the Ukraine, 2 hours before that, he knocked out 2 of our communication satellites, so we lost our internet. Now, we're having like a fiber optic war here. I got connected up to the fiber optic line. 11 days ago, and it never worked. And so I kept phoning up and saying, "Well, it's not connecting. It's not connecting." They sent me a new box. I changed that over. I went down. I got a new little connector. I changed that. It didn't work. So I sat out in the middle of the road on a chair for 2 hours, actually phoning these people. And they said, "But you've cancelled your subscription." I said, "No, I haven't." And they said, there was a silence. And then after a while, they said, yeah, someone's gone into the connecting box in the center and has crushed the cable to your house and put in his own cable. Like another operator has stolen your connection. So they've cancelled my whole contract. They sent me a whole new box of bits. And the guy is coming on Tuesday. Don't laugh. He's going to try to connect it up. Now, that's been happening to a lot of people around here. There are another 2 people I know. There's a war going on. They've got limited access on the fiber. So, like Orange comes in, they see a Bouygues Telecom wire, they pull it out, they crush it, destroy it. They put their own in place. It's incredible.
So we can't blame the Russians
the
for
satellite cut out. No,
so it's not the Russians' fault.
Unless he's a Russian
right.
spy. Could be Russian spies. Russian sleepers. They're sleepers. They've been activated.
So, Roger, since you're catch you up, we were talking about our thoughts on a limited nuclear exchange of tactical nuclear weapons, starting with the Russians and Ukraine, and how that would turn out.
That and EMPs.
Limited, not full out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the basic problem for the Russians is that if they used a tactical nuclear weapon on the battlefield and the wind changed, the radioactivity would all blow into Russia. The Ukraine joins Russia, so they're
As when Chernobyl blew up and all the radioactivity went up north.
Keep an eye on things like that.
I'm only giggling because this is an idea. Go ahead and let them do it so it blows back into their own country.
Yeah, they'd also blow up half the Ukrainian army. That's the problem.
This is true.
It was true, yeah.
Because they were.
But Ukraine's already had the problem that Russian power stations blowing up. Sorry.
They
hit one of their own.
radiation
They
all
also
the way
hit
to Finland.
Oh, sorry, Crystal.
It could hit Japan, it could hit China. Mainly hit China, I'd have thought.
They also hit the German embassy. I as soon as I heard that release that they hit the German embassy, I just kind of looked over at my map, going, "Are we going for World War III now?"
When did they do that?
When the last time
Couple
the
of days
Russians
ago.
launched missiles in Kyiv, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, they
They're not they're not good shots. They're absolutely useless shots. They're getting worse as well.
I mean, firing missiles seemingly indiscriminately to cover up that you can actually hit a few valid targets is also a tactic. Not saying that's what's happening, but a tactic. Because we keep thinking they keep firing. They're firing off $1 billion worth of missiles, seemingly just towards playgrounds or wherever. But if they hit a few valid targets,
see, I said
So
that
did
during the
That's why.
beginning of this.
That's why they grew Pershing with the Pershing 2, because it had a radar dome on the missile itself.
I said that during the beginning of this when the Russians first came in, that they were doing that this was actually a tactical maneuver because they were hitting important targets, but they were, hitting other places that seemed indiscriminate. But
Yeah.
if you look at the pattern of what they were doing, that's not what they were doing at all. They knew
That's what I
that
thought.
they're like, well, I accidentally hit this target. Bull crap.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
You mean just
Most of the time.
They're trying to make themselves look incompetent so everybody gets relaxed.
that's
They
what I'm
managed to
thinking.
do that all right.
They hit the targets by accident.
A lot of the time they did, because they haven't got the same tech as you got over in the US. Not
Yeah,
at all.
The problem,
Excuse
one
me?
of the problems with the tech that the US and the European countries are giving to Ukraine is that it only takes 5 minutes to fire the bloody things. It takes
The
about
only missile
5 years to build the buggers.
sort of
So-
missile that we've given to the Ukrainians is Javelin, and it mainly takes out tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it still takes a few years to build the damn things.
Not
No, it doesn't, because we have a stockpile.
Don't you just?
I
But
know.
that's scary.
I've been in the class for Javelin at Fort
Yeah.
My
Benning.
friend was in ammo as well
Well,
over here. So.
the biggest rope-a-dope that the U.S. is doing with this whole thing is saying that that we're giving them our old equipment and we don't have much. My ass, we are very, very well loaded.
They
the
get
problem-
I
the
mean,
problem
it's
is-
not like we take a B-52 from Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana and get them to fly to Kansas to pick up a nuclear warhead to go. They have those nuclear warheads there at Barksdale.
If we send
We
nuclear
had-
weapons to support the Ukrainians, I think that would possibly trigger the Russians doing something.
Yeah,
That might
You'd have
be
to have
seen as
somebody-
trespassing the
You
line.
have to have somebody knew how to fly a B-52.
We'll do that.
But I mean,
But
we had
One of the allies have been complaining that they're sending equipment to the Ukraine out of their own weapon stockpiles, which means they're depleting, because the NATO countries haven't exactly been up arming over the past couple of decades. So if there's like the Swedes are sending them great anti-aircraft missiles, but they're now running low on their own. So they have to be replenished before any kind of ground action on a NATO scale could take place.
They're still producing
well,
Stingers,
Sweden's
Yeah.
not part of NATO.
and
Not,
I mean,
well, they're
hell,
fine,
look,
aren't they?
we sit there
Well done.
and when the Russia went into Afghanistan, we supplied Afghanistan with Stingers.
Yes.
That's how we knew they worked, and they're still making them to this day.
I know they just turned up a bunch of them in Bremen at a raid by a bunch of Ukrainian officers selling them on the black market.
Yep.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of Russian
Okay,
stuff on the
but
side.
Pershing, we had a bunker on the cast site itself that was guarded by 11 Bravos with 50 caliber machine guns that held warheads.
Yes.
There was always, if the missiles were on, you had 3 missiles on cast site from the battery, then you had 3 on standby at the airfield. The missiles at the airfield had no warhead on them.
No.
The ones on the cast had the warhead, made it on the launcher. Our main job was to shoot the bastards get our crap together and get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Because my life expectancy for people that worked in Pershing was 20 minutes, if we were lucky. That's if we set the balloon up first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was it the Pershing missile site in Minnesota, up by Duluth, that was overflown by a UFO? Was that a Pershing site?
No.
Have you heard that story?
No.
It's apparently a well-known local story. Even the local government officials talk about it. They had their whole weapon system silos shut down for 15 minutes by something.
Okay.
I don't remember if Pershing or it was or what it was. I don't remember.
The only places that they fired Pershings at were Cape Canaveral, Florida. Because one, Mark Marietta's there, they could pop them over in the ocean and we could go and get them. Or they went to Mountain Home Air Force Base, Idaho, and fired them to White Sands.
Yeah, test only.
Yeah.
And batteries went back at least one battery a year went back to fire missiles. Okay. The ones we had at Redstone were dummies because it was training. Yeah. The launcher people and the computer repair people, like I was trained at Redstone. The 15 Echoes, the launcher crew members, and the 21 Golfs, the ones that programmed we call them TATs, now they're GPS numbers, programmed into the missile, they were trained at Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
All the Germans were involved in the Redstone program, weren't they?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Ron Browns worked on the Redstone program.
Well, it was actually Thicol that worked on the Redstone program. Yes, John, no, I was a tech. I went to school for 14 months for my job. And never messed with a computer in my life. I'm serious. No, when I graduated from high school in 1981, my high school had no computers.
Mine neither.
Okay, so I learned all about computers, circuits, wiring board, wiring, computer function, all that stuff in the Army. Okay? But the main reason they fired at Florida is because of Martin Marietta was in Cape Canaveral. But where they built Redstone at was on Redstone Arsenal, the first one. And who was it? Alan Shepard, our first astronaut that went up in space. He went up on a Redstone. But a Redstone was a beefed up version of a V2.
Sounds right.
I mean, it was beefed up, and then they went from the Redstone with that engine and went to the Saturn V. And the test stand at Redstone is huge.
Yeah.
That's why it just... John, it depends on what kind of computer. Mine used binary octal, which means it has an on-off switch. And the relays turn them either off or on. But then you also have computer language. And it does certain things too. But our missile system was binary octal. That's what I learned.
Do you know what those were built out in Tennessee? Because I had one of our guys wrote me from Tennessee that they bought a big missile-style underground missile complex that they can't get a map to.
That's probably.
And they don't know exactly how extensive it is.
It might be for protection of Oak Ridge, because remember,
it was decommissioned in the late '60s, I think, or '70s.
Okay, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, was the one where they were enriching uranium that they shipped to White Sands. For the
I'm just trying to figure out what missiles were based out in Tennessee during the Cold War.
Well, Nike.
Nike?
Nike was everywhere.
Something bigger. It's got to be an ICBM.
No, Nike could carry a
No?
Nike could
In
carry a
Tennessee?
warhead too. We
Yeah,
had
but
a live Nike battery at Redstone.
Yeah, but that was almost for self-defense, if you will, wasn't it? Nike wasn't an AA missile, even with a warhead, to
Right.
detonate a nuclear charge amongst enemy bombers, right?
They could have had a Lance battery there. The only problem with the Lance battery is it's going to affect in the United States.
Maybe he didn't have a missile silo they
ICBM
bought. Maybe he bought something else.
Most ICBMs are in North Dakota, South Dakota,
Yeah.
Wyoming, California. They were up in, well, they had Richard Gavar Air Force Base in Kansas City. They had ICBMs there.
I wonder
Pretty
what he
much
found. They have.
If you ever watched The Day After, that nuclear show, that nuclear.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay, the way those American missiles were coming out of silo in the first part of the movie, that's what it would have looked like.
True.
Because my husband took me to 10 different silos out there.
Well,
and there were still more.
So,
yeah.
Crystal, the Pershing missile, how many warheads did that have?
Pershing 1 carried one warhead. Pershing 2, Pershing 1A, or wait, hold on. Pershing 1, the first Pershing missile, carried one warhead. Pershing 1A could carry up to 2. Pershing 1A could carry up to 2. Pershing 2 could carry up to 3. And there was in the works, already on the drawing table, a Pershing 4.
So, but compared to something like Trident,
I don't know how many.
Trident is the missile that the subs that the UK have.
Yeah.
And they've got 14 warheads per missile, which can all be independently targeted. And there are 16 missiles per sub, and then the rest of it is just your Tomahawk.
No, I didn't even know Lockheed Martin made Trident.
You still using Trident in England?
Yep.
I thought they were obsolete some time ago.
No,
I guess if they were,
still Trident. Polaris was the first one, and we had Trident.
Polaris is the first. That's right.
Yeah, they're running on a Trident too.
Trident 2, I think, is the actual.
Yep.
But yeah, it has a lot of warheads.
I don't know how many
which
warheads.
Which is why when you've got a the captain of the submarine has orders that he'll either get information coming from the Prime Minister or from another particular place in the UK. And if nothing else is heard, then he opens the letter which tells him what he's to do. And nobody actually knows what the letter contains, because every Prime Minister writes a letter. And when that Prime Minister resigns or gets kicked out or whatever, that letter is destroyed. Nobody ever sees it. And but it's the general assumption is that basically if you don't hear anything, then fire at will.
Yeah.
which is, a lot of responsibility for one guy.
Well, technically, you need two. The XO needs to have another key, right?
Oh yeah, the XO has the other. But I mean,
I know.
the captain has to make the decision. The XO just goes along with what the captain says.
Yeah.
But
I wonder what silly
Red
message
October.
Boris Johnson had put in his letter. An idiot. Boris the clown.
yes, I mean, when you think
And Liz
about
Truss, my God. Oh
Said
my
old
God,
in-
terrible.
Somebody said old info and old info in the chat. I'm like, well, this is a history channel.
yeah.
Try and
Well,
help
you look at the prime ministers that Britain have had ever since we've had nuclear weapons. How many of those would you actually trust?
I mean, I'm sort of glad Churchill didn't have his finger on a button. I wouldn't want Churchill to be in charge with the nuclear weapon.
Oh, if Churchill had the nuclear a finger on a nuclear button, Churchill would have nuked Russia.
Whatever else came above him when he was drinking.
No question about it. I think Churchill Churchill would have quite happily, after the surrender of Germany, said, "Okay, right, we'll just continue all the way through to Moscow now."
Yeah.
Because he could see that being the threat. That's where the Iron Curtain statement comes from.
Yeah, and I mean, Churchill, in a drunken stupor, wanted the RAF to unleash chemical weapons and VX gas over Germany. They actually had to talk him down from doing that several weeks in a row. So yeah.
Oh yeah. I know.
Fire
a Pershing with a mated warhead.
Roger.
Even in 1923, he created this artificial country called Iraq, so he could steal all the Ottomans' oil. That's why Erdogan wants to get it back. And the ex-Ottoman soldiers in the new country called Iraq, they fought the British until 1923, 5 years after World War I ended. And just before the rebels surrendered, Churchill had told the RAF, because they didn't have enough men, the demobilization, etc. They didn't have enough soldiers on the ground. They were losing armored trains being blown up. They had river gunboats which were blown up. And he told the RAF to use poison gas against the Iraqi villages, forced the Ottomans to surrender. And just before they took off, they surrendered. So Churchill, he'd have got the same name as Saddam Hussein 70 years later, 80 years later. But really,
the United States still has chemical weapons. The United States still has chemical weapons.
And we all do.
Yeah.
We can do like the British and blow them up by accident.
No, they're getting rid of them. We are. They're doing it.
There was a very large chemical weapons accident in England. Rachel, where are you on this? Was it during the Second World War? There was a small village that practically disappeared in a chemical weapons explosion off the countryside of England. Which one was that? Rachel, you got on that?
No, I'm not. I don't know about Great Britain. Although, during World War I, everybody was using chemical warfare, all sides.
I know when they had the Iran-Iraqi war, that I can't remember which one did it, but one used chemical weapons on the other and killed, because I can remember they killed children and everything else.
It was Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein did it.
Thank you.
His own people, his own country.
Yeah, drop all Kurds.
They were in the same country, but to him, not the same people.
I think the biggest chemical leak was in Bhopal.
In Civito?
That's an accident. Yeah, that's India.
That was
Bhopal, India. And that was
Phickborough disaster.
Saddam Hussein did it on the Kurds Assad
Thank you.
did on his own people in Syria, both parties. But everybody said Saddam Hussein didn't have any chemical weapons. He sure did. And there's a website.
They're probably still buried out in that desert somewhere.
They made it to Syria.
So there's a website called Summit. Okay, the Summit. It's a group of international retired intelligence officers from all over that have posted, evidence that Saddam Hussein not only had a nuclear plant going under the Euphrates River so nobody could see it, and it was reassembled in Syria, and then the Israelis bombed it, I think in 2007 or something like that. And everybody then rushed to cover it up and planted little baby trees over it, over this huge hole. But there was also chemical weapons, and Russia took some and destroyed them. And some went to Iran, with the mullah, and Syria. And there were some strewn all over the desert that needed to be picked up and had not been picked up. And then suddenly everybody denied they existed. I mean, Colin Powell took all those pictures to the United Nations and everything, and really put him on the spot like a fool. And the evidence he had was true. So I don't understand politics, but suddenly
no one does.
They said, "Oh, well, we invaded Iraq and took out Saddam Hussein for no reason when he had attacked Kuwait to get their oil." And I mean, it just everybody lies.
Yes.
One thing I heard, he said that Kuwait was at one time a part of Iraq.
I mean, everything was part of everything else at some point. So how far back do we have to go before we say, all right, this is where the borders are? I think we're back to Roosevelt's 12 point of people's self-determination.
Oh, that disaster. Yeah. The Kuwaitis, Saddam Hussein accused the Kuwaitis of actually drilling so close to the frontier that they were underground. They were stealing Iraqi oil.
I remember that.
That's why he attacked them. That's what.
The lateral drilling,
Saddam Hussein was also building. He built Babylon and Baby Babylon, the giant cannons to fire nuclear weapons into or chemical weapons into Israel. But surprisingly enough, he also built a V3 copy of the multi-chamber gun. Now I saw a report in the Sunday Times paper, and now if you try to find that report now, it's vanished. Nobody ever talks about it. V3 gun. Oh, we know nothing about that. Everything is hushed up.
There's a movie about that. It's still on YouTube. It's still on YouTube.
Flexborough. You said about Flexborough.
Yes.
That was a fire at a chemical plant. It wasn't a chemical weapons plant.
So that wasn't the one then.
It was actually a plant that made various chemicals for industrial use and stuff like that. But when they got mixed together, weren't very nice. The place you were
nuclear. Chemical.
Biology. The place that you might be thinking about regarding the Second World War was there's an island off the coast of Scotland that was covered in anthrax.
No, that wasn't one. No, there was outside a small village in England where they were building bombs and chemicals that blew up. There's a very, very large crater now.
Down, was it?
Portland
Was
Down.
it Portland Down or somewhere like that?
Portland Down is still
Portland
open.
Down.
Yeah,
It's still
Portland
going,
Down,
mate.
still going.
That's
Yeah,
probably not it then
yeah.
some of
either.
our friends have
Going,
been
yeah.
in there.
It'll probably
been in
be
there.
it'll be from the
Ah.
First World War. There were
Now,
there were-
Bhopal, it wasn't chemical weapons
there-
that
there were-
they
No.
lost. It was a pesticide.
Yeah,
There
no,
was-
this.
there were 3
I just actually-
explosions in
Dutch.
bomb factories in the First
Power?
World War.
Fold.
You're saying there were
Hansbury?
three bomb factories in the UK.
Was it Hanbury? Stack?
One was in North Wales. There was one in the Midlands, and there was one in the Northwest. And the one in North Wales was also producing mustard gas.
Yes.
So I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
it wasn't biological weapons as such. It was the
Portland Down.
Yeah,
the
that's.
gas.
I think you're right. I think I got them mixed up there.
Gas and stuff, because my great aunt, well, both my great aunts worked at the factory, and it was closed for about a month, even though the area that exploded, they were all divided up. So if one exploded, it wouldn't flatten the whole lot. But because of the mustard gas, they had to go and clean up afterwards.
Yeah, I think I'm mixing two different events there by memory.
I'm forgetting the name of the. It was near Broughton, but I can't remember the name of the village.
I know it.
If you
But,
go back, oh, I'm sorry.
Go on.
Yeah,
If
I
you go back,
understand. Happens to me as well.
if you go back to World War II, there was a very strange incident when Kleist and List, went to the Baku to grab the oil. They didn't really make it. They ran out of oil themselves before they got to the Baku. But they were stuck at the base of Mount Elbrus in a battle in this town called the Battle of Orzani Kitsi. And Kleist was fighting Beria's troops, who he had these backup squads, okay? And oh my, what's that? Okay.
I'm trying to work that out as well.
It's an internal thing. Don't lose your train of thought.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
I don't know. Don't ask.
On this time.
Beria was so afraid that his troops, he had 4,000 Turkish troops from Turkestan, not Turkey, but Turkestan, who are Muslims, and they were rather rebellious people. The Muslim tribes in the Soviet Union didn't make good communists. They were just too independent. They were tribal. So, but Beria was so afraid that they were going to turn on Russia or the Soviet Union and turn on him that he gassed his own troops to death. And I suspect that he had either Tabin or sarin that he had gotten from I.G. Farben. When I.G. Farben was still operating in Russia all before, during, and after World War II. I mean, it's bizarre, but anyway.
Machine, I just looked that up.
So,
No, I knew what you were referring to.
Kleist won by retreating, and Beria wiped out his own troops. And Hitler promoted him. To field marshal. He's the only guy that ever got promoted for a retreat. But nobody during World War II wanted to talk about the fact that Stalin had the nerve gases that Hitler had developed with I.G. Farben. So, and that he was gassing his own troops. Churchill and I guess Eisenhower wanted to keep Russia on our side, and they feared very much that Russia would go back and rejoin Germany. I mean, Russia had all the resources and Germany had the technology, and they were partners for some time. But the gas business has been going on. Nobody admits to it. That a website is intelligencesummit.com. And if you scroll back to the years in 2007, you'll find all the articles published on Saddam Hussein's chemical weapons. He sure had them. And
Well,
Yeah.
Germany
yeah.
developed sarin gas and Taboon.
yes, yeah, they did under Gerhard Schrader and IG Farben, and they started out with pesticides for aphids on roses, and ended up with Craven gas and sarin and soman, the G2 or G3 series there. So, but nobody wants to talk about it. They say, well, Hitler didn't approve of poison gases because he had suffered in World War I. That's not true. That's not true. I mean, they had Werfers and Werfer maps and Nebeltruppen gas troops at Dresden. They were hidden there. Um, they took out Dresden for, I think, many different reasons, but that's all covered in A.K. Mills' Chios and BIOS reports that he made during World War II, and they were completely declassified for the Nuremberg trials by 1947. They've been sitting in public libraries. I mean, so we're not talking top secret. Okay, this information has been out there for over 70 years. It's all out there. So,
Well, they developed Cyclone B actually as a pesticide.
well, that's IG Farben again, yes. And
Yes.
we haven't talked too much about IG Farben, but I suspect we will in time. Otto Ambrose came over here to Grace Chemical, and he was the acetylene director at Auschwitz. He was sentenced at Nuremberg, and a couple years later, he was let out by John J. McCloy, who was, high cog. So, and many more were freed. IG Farben had 800 subsidiaries all over the world.
It's interesting you mention it because one of the largest chemical production facilities in Germany, also under IG Farben, is a very, 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 very large 400-room underground bunker. One of the biggest underground facilities that they built during the war that I will visit because I have an appointment with the Russian gangster who runs it. It was handed over to the Russians after the war, and they sort of sat on it. We're not entirely sure what's in there. We're not entirely sure what they did there. And we'll get to go take a look. But there's apparently some rooms encased in copper at the very bottom, 4 floors down, 400 rooms. So we're a little curious about that.
Better take a lunch with you on that one.
Is that Ludwigshaven?
Yes. Yes. Ludwigshafen, yeah.
Okay. My German, or, I've got the accent on the wrong syllable. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know the one. But yeah, it's very interesting because that one was taken over by the Russians, held but not supposedly operated by Russians. And at the end of the Cold War, it stayed in Russian hands, even though it is in Germany now. And there's still a Russian running it or owning it or keeping an eye on it. Let's put it that way. But friends of friends, you get invited and you pay a little money. Yeah, but there's no sneaking over the fence. There's no messing around because these are not the nice, cuddly, loving, friendly Russians.
No, no, not at all. Not at all.
This guy Walter Repp, who's very famous for the rep process in cracking coke, running electricity through it to get, acetylene solvents out of it. Ran Ludwigshafen, and the place was blown up or bombed, and we don't. I mean, there's different sides of the story here, but they only get the top. They don't get what's underneath, And so I guess that was the whole purpose. But apparently, his son was interviewed, Rep's son, and Rep thought that his father had escaped to Russia. There's an awful lot of German chemists from IG Farben that beat it right back to Russia. So, I mean, snakes. I mean, I see snakes everywhere, okay? It's like every day you ask yourself, well, who's on first now? I
just wanted to officially thank Rachel for sending me 2 boxes of FOIA documents on all of this and all the research, just ensuring that if I ever actually off when I'm not working, going through those. So yeah, when Rachel talks about documents, now they're sitting in my house. Thank you.
I'm glad I don't work in your office because I'd be going ape filing.
Those are 2 boxes.
No, we'll just pass them on.
You're working from
2 boxes that
I thought you were going to send me a couple of copies.
Yeah. No, you're lucky. I had 5 file cabinets full. Okay, that the big ones. All right, and a couple short ones, but they of all these declassified documents and freedom of information requests. I drove the government nuts. I don't care. I wanted that information. And, it's been dribbled out over 20, 30 years. It's
like, Tino, the research that I've done for you, I have a 2-inch binder that's almost full. And I have filled 3 spiral notebooks with stuff. And it's mainly
I am coming to Alabama. Well, I am coming out your way.
Well, going back to
for the bomb factory. Yeah.
I sense Paul have something intelligent to say.
Well, it wasn't so much intelligent. All I'm going to say was going back to like almost 3 hours. One of the things we said about was a Discord, setting up a Discord channel.
Very good idea.
This is where this information could be put down. It can be photocopied, it can be uploaded that way, or it can be handwritten, whatever your preference is. But I mean, each of the subject areas we've covered this evening,
you're good tool.
I'm gonna have to hook up the
they're going to have their own titles, plus all of the different tunnel
I have
systems.
A printer that's a scanner and a fax machine all in one.
And all that sort of stuff.
But it ain't plugged in because it's too easy.
I mean, Paul, you're right, and I can set up a discourse and I can put that under one of the private pages.
Yeah. So if you set up a Discord, and if you get like, I don't mind helping out, and Crystal, maybe Machine if he's got time, 1 or 2 others will be admins for it, and we'll make sure everything's in the right places. And
you could also do the same thing on the Lost Battlefields website.
And now we just need a 17-year-old web designer who can set it all up so we can plug it in.
I have a dude in Ireland that'll do it. I've got 2 of them.
You have?
I have 2 Discords running right now. I've got a buddy of mine that's in Ireland that'll do it in like an hour.
Setting up the website or the Discord?
The Discord.
We need the website designer first, having someone to stick it into.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a designer, but at the same time,
Well,
I can't do that.
Discord just is a
Yeah, it's easy.
a system.
Yeah.
Once you
It
set
once
it
you
up,
know it,
System.
it
Like I
just
said-
needs to be in your name
Yes.
that's right.
as you as the owner, because it's your channel.
I've got one.
You know,
I will set it up in the
Yeah,
next
you
couple of
do that.
days, and I will find out what the password is to the members only section.
Guild I'm a member of in Guild War 2, we go fighting. And we use Discord on our own channel to coordinate who goes where, how many go this way,
Yeah, we do
and
that.
fighting. And we can
We
all
do
talk
that in
to each
gaming.
other. And
We do
we're
that in
talking
gaming.
about 40, 50 people on one channel.
We can go
Yeah.
further than that, we think.
Sorry, it had to be done.
yeah,
Well,
so
there's only like 40 or 50 in our guild.
I'm in a game where
Our
there's like
alliance is
about
100 plus.
4,500 people who interact,
I only
through
play one, and that's
various-
Guild Wars.
and that's
Game is different.
that's got lots of different pages and chat areas. So if you want to be
Yeah,
politically,
we've got different areas too.
politically incorrect, you can be politically incorrect, and if you want to be woke, you can be woke, I suppose.
I think we're trying to specifically get away from that part.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wish all of them snowflakes could melt.
You mean
in
we
summer.
shouldn't have a
Yes.
PC gender transparency coordinator and supervisor on the website? Maybe we can get
No.
one from Facebook.
God no.
Then I'll be going to war.
We'll just
I
have
know mechanical
trying to
stuff. You
avoid
guys
that
can
if
have
we
the
can.
computer stuff.
we'll have some admins who will just make sure that what gets posted in each of the different categories is in the
Yes.
right place, and if it's
Hell,
not,
I actually
then we'll
know how
move it to.
Scan 12 by 12 pages and then take them into a program and sew them back together.
I've never been a mod, but I've always been what you call them, a rocker.
A rocker, yeah. Yeah, I've always been a rocker too. Still am.
What's that mean?
Good man.
You
Mods
are
and
all
rockers,
signed.
1960s, old bikers.
You are all signed up to. You're
Good.
all
Somebody
signed
go buy
up to
me a
monitor
Norton.
this. I just wanted to
Buy
see
me
the
a
cat.
Norton.
It looked like the cat was grooming you there for a minute.
Oh,
Hello, Roger.
No,
Yeah,
cat's,
that's-
At it.
cat's
So
cat.
cat's
pretty.
looking the other
that's
way.
his name.
Oh, he's
Cat's
turned
cat.
around now.
You must be cold out there.
Have you got catnip there for him?
Oh, does he have a dark nose?
Yeah, oh,
He has a mustache.
all right, we'll do Roger's cat again. Does he have a mustache? No, he doesn't. I don't see.
Not at the moment.
oh, he's got the most fantastic
I love-
mustache. Yeah,
Look,
you
there
can't
he
see
is.
it in here, but it's-
There
I
it
don't
is.
have a beard
I can
either
see it.
anymore. So
Yep.
you send mine on my website.
My Merlin was a total black cat.
That's a really good sooty nose. That.
But no,
All right.
you can do a lot of things on Discord. On
Yeah, we
Discord.
can. We can.
All right, I will.
Yeah,
I will
cat.
set that
There's the
up.
Emotional support kitty.
Yeah, I need to send you my Discord. Dang.
yeah.
Hang on. I'm opening you up here.
Emotional. Thank you.
Oh, your baby.
Yep, that's my emotional support kitty.
Oh,
I miss having a cat. I do.
I miss all my dogs actually. I've had a few.
I had a Russian blue nose. I
He's
named
got
him
one
Polo.
too.
You'd walk by. We called him the AT&T kitty because you'd walk by. And you'd
Robert's got one as well.
Oh, hello, it's a baby.
Well, I miss
Look.
my Rottweilers, I tell you.
I don't think my dog's outside, or I'd bring him in here, but he'd take up the whole camera. He's big and fat.
Yeah. Cool.
I can get Scrat to bark.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, nice
I
one.
can
eh?
find the power cord to my husband's other
I like them.
portable computer. I could.
This is my emotional support animal.
Yeah. Yours is spare.
I still got a bottle of bourbon waiting for you, you know.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, I'll take Sam Elliott as my sport animal.
Sam. Oh God, I have to
I
get
think
a
I
hold
still
of
got
him.
whiskey in the fridge.
Yeah, so have I. No, but it's not in the fridge.
Yes, I still have with
All right, then.
Southern Comfort.
Fine.
All right, you guys, we've been doing this long enough. Let's do this
Oh
again
man, we're not
next week.
setting a world record.
It's been a good chat.
I mean, I can go back to work and just leave this running. Let me get onto this whole setup thing. And if anybody have a web designer out there who can do it, I know some people wrote and offered me. Now, of course, I can't find any of them. But yeah, as soon as I get that thing set up, I'll get the Discord set up and set it on a public page to start with. We can always move that, but then we get that thing going.
Hey, Tino.
Yes.
Husband knows how to do web design.
Good.
In what format?
What format? I know
I
he's
haven't
an
built
ace
it.
PowerPoint.
I've got unlimited
That
space
doesn't
on
help.
mine. Unlimited space on mine.
The one I built is in Weebly. We should probably do
Totally
WordPress,
set
but then
up.
I have to rebuild everything.
I know you have to use what's it?
Don't hurt of it.
My brain's just had a brain fart.
Let me know when what he does at build in. See if it's
Okay.
compatible with my setup.
I've helped him do PowerPoint presentations for freaking generals and crap.
I do PowerPoint precision, but I don't think we've done them in 10 years.
He said it just depends on how you have to write it.
Yep.
But I'll get him to look at a couple and see what's going on.
I mean, it's either I can build onto what I have in Weebly, or I have to rebuild it completely. Either way, we'll figure it out. It's a logistical thing, and somewhere there's a young teenage Pakistani guy who can figure it out.
Oh yeah.
Danica Patrick.
And you can probably
Patrick.
hack it and break it. And
What is it? GoDaddy.com. You can do it.
Oh dear.
One of
Oh
them
dear.
GoDaddy.com.
No, not
Here, I've
GoDaddy.
got a host. I've got a lady that has her own server and does hosting and stuff like that, and she's a lot cheaper than even GoDaddy. I can get you in touch with her. I mean, anytime we can save money on this, on stuff, it's good.
Yeah.
I spend
But anyway,
£100 a year.
I was
That's
just
all
going
I'm
to get
on that
hubby to
site.
teach me, and I was going to do it.
It don't take long to do.
I've been on with my tech support every day this week to try to get them to talk my way through setting up the portals I need, and they're just not doing it. I talked to a web designer actually in Pakistan, asked if for some small amount of money if she could do it. Haven't gotten back to me. Talked to Weebly, sent them several requesting customer support. Haven't heard back from them.
I've got room for yours.
Working on it.
Anything you do,
You know,
I can put room.
Tino, you know who you might want to contact?
I can
Drac.
Gimp.
I'll tell you where I live.
Because
who I
Drac
use, and
has
I'll send
his.
I'll send you the link.
Yeah,
all right.
Drac and his own.
Did he build his own?
Yeah, he has,
does-
and he has a sponsor on his channel or something to that effect. If I remember
Yeah, but
right.
Yeah,
Drac is incredibly intelligent. I'm not.
yeah, but I mean, if
But
you,
You're clever at some things, not others. That's all. You're
I
not-
can
not-
use
you're
Gimp
not
backwards.
intelligent.
it depends on how much the program that he uses costs.
Yeah, well, of course. But
I'll tell you who I use.
If it's economical to do,
yeah,
and
I would
if
talk to Drac.
if Brandon would come up with some merch designs, I know he's already got a few.
I put a few of them out there. It's
I
just
can
trying
make
to get the box.
I can make designs
Agree with
on
him.
Gimp.
But I mean, like, the mug and things like that you've got or you had, and T-shirts along those sort of lines.
I still want to make the mosquito T-shirt. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I love that design.
Skeeters.
I'll send it to you. I sent it to Tino, and he
Brandon,
called me
you ought to see the big old spooder out by my truck in the tree.
I just killed 3.
And the donkey faust.
Tino.
Yeah, I mean, all
The
that
donkey
sort of
faust, yes. I'm still. By
Tino.
the way, I'm reworking that. I'm redoing the donkey sauce shirt. Go ahead, Ed.
Tino, how far are you from Silicon Valley?
I don't think I'm allowed to go there.
Some of them will let
I
you
don't
in.
think they
mate.
like people
Trust
like
me.
me.
Some people will let you
I'll-
in.
I'll-
They will.
I'll call Aunt Pelosi and get you a hall pass.
Yeah, would you mind? I may ask questions and display independent thought.
A lot
Oh,
of
that's
people-
dangerous.
That would be wrong, Tino. What are you doing? This is
Yeah.
That is not
Yeah.
politically
Yeah.
correct.
You definitely do not have to go to Pakistan for this.
I would like to have somebody I can sit down with and put a gun to his or her head and say, do this and don't leave till you're done.
Without them putting a gun back at yours, eh?
Oh, machine, if you need somebody to take backgrounds out, just send me you got my email, right? Just send me the picture and I can go into GIMP and do it free.
Oh, you got, I've got some expensive programs. I just don't know how to friggin' use them.
Yeah,
I
me
know
too,
how to
mate. Me
GIMP
too.
it. GIMP is free. I know how to use backward, forward, sideways, upside down, and everywhere
I can
else.
type upside
Well,
down if I want. I don't mind.
You could probably fix a couple of the photos that were taken of me last night. How's that?
Most likely, just send them to me.
Well, I was last night. I was mingling with my people. I did 100 shot glasses for a musician's wedding that's coming up, and rather than shipping them to them, they played an hour and a half from here. So I went and hung out with him and Lita Ford.
Well, last night I was doing the happy dance because Alabama lost.
Hang on, what happened to karaoke night?
Mm.
What happened to karaoke night?
Well, we went for about 3 hours. It was fun. I didn't get
We
all
hosted a weekly karaoke night online.
on Rambling Knuck, not on History with Harnock.
I'm not doing karaoke. If I do, my dogs will start howling.
Yeah. Mine used to.
And the only songs I know all the words to are Queen songs.
I'll do a
dear.
Sinatra number
Oh
one day.
dear, oh dear, oh dear.
I'll do a Sinatra one day for us all.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheech and Chong used to do my dogs howling.
So when are we doing this again?
And you do it your way.
I think
Mr. Roger,
Sunday.
do you need us to send you a care package?
Yes, Roger. Do you need food?
I'm good at
Stop.
sending care packages because of sending stuff to Iraq for
Send
hubby
some of
and
these
everything.
jackets.
Heating blanket.
Some of these. Yeah.
Yeah, send cat food and I'll steal it off the cats and eat it
An
myself.
American
Oh, no.
heating blanket's not going to work over there because everything over there is 220 and we're 110.
No.
Well, this is
I
a murder.
am
You have the
Roger.
technology
Roger,
to do
can you
that.
come to Canada and teach these French
These are
people how to
12
speak French? That would be gratefully helpful.
Oh, well.
I'm just saying, because
I thought they spoke French all the time
they
in
need to be
Montreal.
knocked down a peg or two. I'm just saying.
And he can do that now. He's officially also
I never
French now.
did get to get with Canadian French.
Trudeau
No,
certainly
never.
does.
In university, yeah, we had a language lab, and it was "Et fait la partie du docteur." Je dis quoi?
Oh
Et
my
fait
goodness
la
gracious.
partie du
And the worst part about it, Roger, I kid you not.
And it was
Roger, I kid you not.
And they say we talk
There
funny in the South.
are people here in Canada that will say that France has French wrong.
Yeah.
Go figure that out.
Hey,
Yeah,
I
you know,
speak
the Americans,
Bible
they
and
can
German.
get
They both-
We know teachers.
It's the original
We know
French.
speak
Yeah.
American Arabic.
They don't like me there.
All right, you guys.
Apparently
We'll try
making
to
fun of
shoot
the
for this.
French
I'll try to get
Roger.
everything set up so we can do this next week. And I'll give you some notice. I'm just waiting on figure out how I'm working next week so I can plan it around it. And I'll let you all know as soon as we can.
Yeah, I'll email you my
Well-
Discord name.
All right, and I'll get on that right now. I have a quick actual physical meeting in 5 minutes, and then I'll get on that in half an hour and keep on the web stuff.
Tell them to take
And
notes.
We talked
we
about
have an
Dave
episode
Roberts.
coming up on Tuesday on the rest of the fort, and we'll see what I come up with for next weekend.
All
But
the best to you.
it was fun. Probably more fun for us than for everyone else. But what the hell?
Absolutely.
Have fun,
Roger,
people.
I will
Don't
chat
get
with
cold.
you.
Be
I'll
good,
chat with all
Roger.
of
Pet
you.
your kitties for
Okay.
me.
All right.
Is everybody talking at
All
the same
right.
time?
Oh, I may be in jail next week. I may be in jail next week because I've told all my French friends here that Now I've got my French nationality. I've been a good boy up till now, so that they will give me my French nationality. But now I've got it and it's all hung and dry, then I can be a very bad boy, like all the other Frenchmen. I'm going to burn tires in the street. I'm going to dig up the paving stones and throw them at the CRS riot police. I'm going to stand on a roundabout and block it like a gilet jaune. And next week, I'm going to go on strike.
We don't need to send him a care package. We need to send him money so we can get him bailed out.
All right, so Roger's going rioting and getting free money.
Come on.
Yep.
So you're no longer a Welshman then, Roger?
No, he's not.
You're not dual citizen?
But I'm going to have 2 passports. When the plane is held up by terrorists, I'm going to say, "Do you like the French?" And they say, "No." All right, I'm Welsh. And then if they say, "Do you like the Welsh?" they say, "No," and I'll be French. I have 2 passports to pull up.
Yeah,
Well, it's like if you go to Spain and they go, "Oh, you're English." No, I'm Welsh. Oh, Welsh, great, you know. Whoa.
No, they have no idea.
All right, I guess we'll see Roger on CNN in a few days.
No, we won't. We're going to keep him.
Send bail money.
All right, you guys. Take care. I will talk to
Y'all
you
be
all.
good. I gotta go.
All
to
right.
bed.
At least be good at it.
Thank you.
Toodles.
Can't be
Take care.
good.
Y'all
Be
be
careful.